What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty. Join my Discord if you want to chat and share your thoughts, the link is in the description. 7SG Chapter 196. The Kryptonians are scary. See, this is called wall hanging. Wang Hao pointed to Clark over there, exposing its essence to everyone. And everyone nodded in agreement. What is this growth rate? From a reckless man who can only perform miracles with great strength, he has directly evolved to a fighting master. Fiona spent countless years training hard on Krypton, and after undergoing various baptisms, she got hundreds of thousands of Krypton years of excellent heritage. However, it took Clark less than 5 minutes to change from a weak chicken who could only be beaten passively to a being who could fight back and forth with her. Sure enough, in front of geniuses, the word hard work seems so pale and powerless. 657. If hard work is useful, what is genius for? Teacher Tony on the side nodded approvingly. As a genius, in fact, he is under a lot of pressure. People outside always think that he is studying and working very hard in private. But they didn't know how much fun he had in private, but he couldn't say it, or it would be too hurtful. In the middle of the battlefield, when the skills are tied, the speed and strength are complete, and the battle is deadlocked. Fiona was amazed at Clark's growth rate, or rather, this is the level that a Kryptonian should have. A brain that can learn a new language in a few seconds, even the so-called fighting skills that take time to accumulate, are nothing but extremely simple things. But this does not mean that Fiona is at a disadvantage in turn. As I said earlier, Fiona received the solar energy injected by Wang Hao, and within a short period of time, the cell recharge level, activation level in the body caught up with Clark's decades of accumulation. Therefore, Fiona's overall strength at the moment is not inferior to Clark, and it is completely different from Zod's situation of just awakening and Clark. Even if her skills as a fighter were equalized by Clark's extraordinary ability within a few minutes, it only brought the battle between them back to an evenly matched state. Advertisement but parody is troublesome. In the Battle of Metropolis in the movie, Clark initially suppressed his own strength and fought Zod evenly. Ever since, it will be a disaster. In front of the two humanoid building demolition monsters, the high-rise buildings that human modern civilization is proud of are like fragile biscuits, which will shatter when broken. But now, although there are no high-rise buildings around this military base, the scene does not look so shocking. But punching a hole in the earth doesn't seem like a trivial matter? When Fiona burst up and rushed towards Clark who interrupted her evolution, a deep pit like a missile bombing was already surprising. But when these two people hit the real fire, they hit the ground from the sky, and the punches hit the ground with such force that they couldn't break the skin, and the earth, which carried the development of human civilization, couldn't stand it anymore. One punch is a pit with a diameter of at least 5 meters. Step on it, people are fine, but there is an extra hole on the ground that would take a long time for an excavator to dig out. Monster. Wang Hao and others sat on a small bench, ate melon seeds, ate popcorn, and drank happy water, and made such comments. In fact, the battle on the other side was not bad. Thor fought back and forth with the two Kryptonians. Definitely, Thor didn't use his full strength, and the two Kryptonian minions were only fighting with their armor, not awakening like Fiona. As a result, from the perspective of visual effects, Thor's battle is far worse than that of Clark and Fiona. So much so that when they clicked and saw the earth-shattering scene next to them, several people immediately put away their hands tacitly and watched from the side. A simple collision of fists and feet, a simple physical fight, but the power displayed is even more terrifying than the missile cluster bombing. Everyone present at this moment is like watching an epic disaster movie, plus the freezing breath that whizzes past from time to time, and the hot eyes that pass by from time to time. Advertisement. The feeling of a disaster blockbuster suddenly seems so real. Aliens, so scary. The trembling American soldiers hiding in the military base watched the gods fighting outside with pale faces. The road that was tightly pressed by their heavy trucks was smashed to pieces with fists in front of them. The breath that was frozen for thousands of miles at that moment was like a legendary dragon. The thermal sight that can cut the tower outside the base in half with a single sweep is many times more powerful than the military's experimental laser weapons. Not to mention the indestructible body. Such an attack destroys high-rise buildings and destroys military forces with ease. But the problem is, after fighting for a long time, the bodies of the two monsters didn't even have any scars. So what does 5.7 mean? Their bullets, their shells, have a high probability of not being effective. But with the development of human civilization to the present, guns are their most powerful force. What? Mushroom bombs. Leaving aside whether that thing can hit such a fast-moving opponent, the most important thing is that he is a witch. This is not a large city, a large target that can be seen at a glance from space. This is a humanoid target. If you hide in the city, let alone bombing, the problem is to find it first. Besides, which country in the world has the courage to bomb its own cities with mushroom bombs? Chapter 197. Plan to attack the Kryptonians. So, there's nothing we can do about them. From the current point of view, even if we are determined to bomb our own cities, we can't even guarantee that the mushroom bombs will kill them. Inside the base, the Black General was reporting the battle situation outside to the people in the White House. And after he finished speaking, a man who was obviously a scientific advisor stepped forward. Hello President, hello generals, don't talk nonsense, let me explain directly. The scientific advisor said hello, and then opened the information he had prepared. As shown in the picture, please see, in our conventional cognition, the mushroom bomb is our most powerful weapon, and in a sense, this is not a problem. The consultant pushed his glasses 18, showing my smartest expression. But that's based on the power we defined. What exactly is it? Is it the sum of the energy output by the explosion? Or the maximum damage to a single target? If it is the sum of the output energy, the mushroom bomb is indeed the most powerful weapon in the hands of human beings, but if it is the largest amount of damage to a single target, then it may not be. Otherwise, why would there be a nuclear defense facility? But the missile can penetrate the nuclear defense facilities. Although the cultural level of everyone here is generally not high, especially the person sitting in the middle. But everyone understood what he said. In fact, if we really want to talk about the damage of a single target, the mushroom bomb may not be as good as an anti-material armor-piercing bomb. At least the mushroom bomb cannot penetrate the steel plate tens of centimeters away, and at most, it just melts part of it. After finishing speaking here, the scientific advisor pulled out another drawing. As for our alien friends, according to the estimated data after my observation just now, judging from the kinetic energy they endured in their subsequent performance, if they want to break the limit they have shown so far, they need at least 3 million tons of mushrooms. It's only possible to do that. But it's only at least, because the data we currently have doesn't have a chance to collect to their limit. Advertisement, what about the special armor-piercing bullets? The president asked suddenly. It's difficult. Their moving speed is too fast. The point is, their reaction speed can match the moving speed, which means that they may be aware of our bullets the moment they are fired. The scientific advisor hesitated for a moment, then continued. There is also the problem of warheads. At present, we don't have materials strong enough to support collisions under such kinetic energy. Poor shaft armor-piercing projectiles are enough to penetrate the frontal armor of a main battle tank. But for them, it may not be enough. Seeing the disappointment on the faces of the president and others, the scientific advisor hurriedly said again. But it's just a physical method. They are living organisms. We also have chemical and biological methods. No matter how hard a metal is, as long as it finds its reaction mode, it can be turned into powder. The same goes for their bodies. This is his purpose. The physical strength of the Kryptonians has made them basically immune to physical attacks on the Earth. A simple explosion can't solve them at all, but regardless of the hardness on the physical level, on the basis of chemistry, any substance has its nemesis. For example, iron will be oxidized and reduced when it encounters oxygen, which is what we call rust. If the hard iron is corroded, it will not be much stronger than sand. So does the body of steel have its own corresponding nemesis? What do you need? Kryptonian blood, even Kryptonian corpses. Advertisement, the scientific advisor said with some embarrassment. What they are discussing now is how to kill the Kryptonian, but he came to ask for the body of the Kryptonian. Isn't this putting the cart before the horse? But there is no way. He is just a scientific consultant, and he is only responsible for proposing solutions to problems. As for how to do it, it is out of his control. When the US military was counting the Kryptonians, some people were also looking at this side, and then thinking about similar problems. In the city center of the metropolis, on the top floor of the Lycos building, a young man who was watching this scene through his own satellite touched the top of his head. Honestly, I don't really like having people flying over me. And in Batcave 220, someone who also watched this scene with his own satellite had flickering eyes, a sudden occupational disease. Ah foo, what if they attack civilians? Damn, the US military can't deal with them at all. I have to think of a way. Standing behind Bruce, Ah Fu opened his mouth, suddenly wanting to give this guy a blast. If you want to fight gods, you also want to fight aliens, can you take a break? Please don't be so dead. I don't want a white-haired person to give a black-haired person. Oh, forget. Now I am a black-haired person and you are a white-haired person. Hey, Master Wayne, I think you can ask Mr. Wong Hao for help. They come from different worlds and have more advanced technology and power. Maybe they have a way to deal with these aliens. Ah Fu said his suggestion very sincerely. It is enough for an ordinary person to beat a psychopathic criminal. These gods, aliens, etc. are not your business. But Bruce frowned. So, who's going to deal with them? Chapter 198. Catch one in one hand. Clark, who was thousands of miles away, didn't know that when he was devoting himself to save the world, there were actually two idiots who wanted to kill themselves. He only has one headache now. How on earth did he escape from Fiona's attack? The Kryptonians' inexhaustible physical strength kept the two monsters fighting for a while. With such a violent output, there is no trace of exhaustion on the faces of the two of them. Because of this, Clark wanted to get away from Fiona's pursuit more and more, instead of continuing to confront her here. But here comes the problem. He can't fight and can't run. What should he do? Even, in the past few decades of his life, he has never thought about such a problem. Can't beat? Non-existent? Can't run away? That is even more impossible? In the past, he was basically in a state of rampant on the earth, and the only thing that restrained him was his heart of the son of the farm. It was never Clark Kent or Batman or the Flash that saved the world. It was a farmer named Jonathan Kent. It's him who turned a big devil who could destroy the world into a selfless savior. Definitely, and Martha, just let them keep fighting like this? Not only did Clark want to end it, but the people watching the battle also felt a little bored. After all, just a few calls back and forth, crackling or something, almost an hour of watching should be enough. Even the battle of special effects in the movie has to start after the literary drama has laid the groundwork. The constant bombardment is too loud for the ears. So after Mr. Tony picked out his ears, he looked at the boss beside him. Advertisement asked for his opinion, and Wong Hao nodded after touching his chin. It seems a little boring. The situation was quite tense at first. Clark was pressed and beaten, and then Fiona beat him into a pig's head with a set of military punches. Immediately afterwards, Clark's ability broke out, and in a short period of time, he changed from a reckless man to a fighting master, and began to fight back and forth. The changes in this look quite interesting. But now, since the skills don't work anymore, there is basically no distinction between Zan and Xiao, and the two of them have returned to the part of Dao Jijian. You punch me, I kick you like this. Forget it, I read it and corrected it. As he said that, Wang Hao stretched out his hand directly, stretched out both hands, and squeezed into the void. Immediately, Clark and Fiona, who were separated after the collision, were suspended in midair, unable to move, and could only struggle constantly, like dolls held by pliers in a crane machine. Come over. With both hands bent inward, the two invincible and devastating Kryptonians were brought directly in front of Wang Hao. Clark, stand aside and don't talk. Putting Superman aside, Wang Hao signaled him to stand up obediently, and Clark hesitated with some doubts on his face, and finally chose to obey. On the other side, there is a fierce look on his face, but with the blessing of his beautiful appearance, it will only make people have a certain desire to touch. Fiona. Wang Hao's eyes were deep, and his eyes were connected with Fiona's gaze. Suddenly, the struggling Kryptonian female war god and the adjutant of Kryptonian military commander Zod suddenly froze in place. Behind Wang Hao, Natasha Romanoff and Channer didn't understand what Wang Hao was doing. Just repeat the old trick, but who told him to treat women so unreasonably? Advertisement. Even Fiona, who is as iron-blooded as Fiona, who puts the glory and revival of Krypton in the highest position, can't help but blush on her face at this moment. Who are you? Although her heart was full of throbbing, and her body had undergone some unprecedented changes, Fiona still retained her sanity and was able to ask questions. But her body obviously relaxed, and she no longer struggled, and was no longer full of violent desire to attack. I'm Rao. His eyes flickered, and a name came out of Wang Hao's mouth. This is the ancient god of Kryptonian belief. Well, a sun god. The key is that he does exist, why Superman is different from other Kryptonians, and why Kryptonians can become the dominant force in the universe. It was because of the care of the sun god Rao. Even if Wang Hao does not appear in this universe, the sun god will be forcibly incorporated as a part of him. The sun god Rao is actually the trumpet duplication of the creator god of the DC universe. Yes, the DC universe is different from the Marvel universe. There are no 5 gods who created the world, but a god who represents, Zhao Zhao Zhao, created everything. He created the entire DC multi-universe wrapped in the walls of origin. Therefore, Superman's hanging actually comes from God. Definitely, now it becomes Wang Hao, because Wang Hao's setting is the collection of all the suns. Even if it is a sun god duplication made by others, as long as Wang Hao appears, it will become his duplication. Interesting. Hearing a voice from somewhere, Wang Hao just smiled. We are all people who hang out in the multi-universe, are truly supreme, and belong to the same level of existence. Nodding is enough. If Wang Hao creates his own multi-universe system in the future, and these great powers come to visit, he will also give Fang Jin convenience. Chapter 199. Kryptonians are destined to be destroyed? The high-level dialogue that is not perceived by anyone other than Wang Hao has no impact on the outside world. After Fiona heard the name Rao, she suddenly fell silent. But the expression on his face is constantly changing. Longing, worship, excitement, joy, loss, regret, and excitement. From this point of view, it is true that women are born to be dramatists. Great God Rao. Fiona definitely won't doubt Wang Hao's words. Wang Hao said that he is a god, and no one has doubted it so far. Even Nick Fury, who doubted everything, directly regarded Wang Hao as a god after listening to it. This feeling is the same as when a mortal sees the indomitable Pengu, he will think that he is the one who created the world at a glance. The personality is there, elusive, and that is a trick that only evil gods can play. The real gods always put their identities on the bright side, pretending to be mysterious and unpredictable, and that's just because they are afraid of revealing their real bodies and revealing their weaknesses. To put it bluntly, it is not strong enough. For example, Mr. K, who always scares children, seems very unreasonable. Holding Fiona in his arms, he patted her shoulder lightly. 237. An iron-blooded and tough female warrior, for the first time in her life, she showed the appearance of a little daughter. In fact, although Rao is the god belief of Kryptonians, in fact, it has developed to the current level, and the so-called god belief has become less important in Krypton. Maybe when talking about gods, they would talk about Rao, but they wouldn't just talk about him. All day would Rao bless you or something. However, Fiona just awakened the hidden ability in the Kryptonian bloodline. And Wang Hao also infused Fiona with a wave of solar energy. Advertisement. When Kryptonians discover their connection to the sun, they instinctively draw closer to the sun. And the solar energy instilled by Wang Hao allowed Fiona to further increase her dependence on sunlight in her blood. And Wang Hao is a human-shaped sun. So at the moment Fiona is in Clark, and her 2 Kryptonian warriors seem to be acting very strangely, but in fact they are just operations like the child returning to the mother's arms, and the prodigal son returning home. And when Wang Hao spread his gaze and his divine charm to these Kryptonians, their situation was not much different from Fiona. Well, it's quite easy to deal with these little soldiers, but Zod. Wang Hao pondered for a moment. Zod is different from these people, at least he is an elected leader, and his mental firmness is far above Fiona and the others. The revival of Krypton is engraved in his bones, or, in terms of the concept of revival of Krypton, Zod is a fanatic who can abandon everything. Originally, he and Jor-El came here as good friends, but when Jor-El sat back and watched the tragedy of Krypton's imminent demise and remained indifferent, and just sent his son away, Zod directly pretended that he didn't have this friend. I don't have a friend like you. JPG. Therefore, if one wants to subdue Zod, then it is not enough to show his divine power. Luo Beja is wrong. He wants to revive Krypton. Good luck. Anyway, what I want is to revive Krypton, but it is Krypton for my use. So, Wang Hao directly embraced Fiona with one hand and Clark with the other, turned around, and the three of them appeared in the Kryptonian spaceship in the sky. Hello, Zod. Looking at the three people who suddenly appeared in front of him, Zod was obviously a little confused. After discovering that Fiona was fighting with someone, Vice, he had already noticed the following changes. But he is still investigating why Fiona suddenly became so powerful and the origin of all the changes. As a result, the source of the problem appeared in front of him. Looking at Fiona, who was held in Wang Hao's arms, Zod's face was serious. Did the adjutants who fought with him for countless years betrayed? Advertisement, he is God Rao. Zod's complexion changed again, and he looked at Wang Hao full of hesitation. He even thought in his heart, no wonder he felt a kind of worship and reverence when he saw Wang Hao. But this is not enough to impress Zod, the iron-blooded leader. Wang Hao smiled all over his face and started the daffa of fooling around. But the reality is that the Kryptonians are self-confident, immersed in the glory of the past, unable to extricate themselves. Internally they are self-depleted, and stifle the self-development potential of society through gene customization technology. He can't say that the destruction of Krypton is doomed, can he? The Kryptonians abandoned the most excellent ability in their blood, sealed this powerful power, and turned to study various weird technologies and theories. The Council of Elders seeks stability wholeheartedly without any intention of pioneering. Cough, Krypton has gone astray. The destruction of Krypton is a doomed disaster. Only in this way will you usher in a new life and start a brighter future. Just imagine, if every Kryptonian warrior is as strong as Clark and Fiona, what is Darkseid? Lao, where were you when Krypton was destroyed? More importantly, Lan Xing people are restrained by Xing. In this regard, Wang Hao is also very helpless. Kryptonite, that is a unique product on Krypton, that thing has been poisoning Kryptonians. Zod looked sad and complained to Wang Hao. Wait, it seems like that can be said? They Kryptonians believe in Rao, but when Krypton is destroyed, where is his god? Although Krypton is extremely rich, their entire civilization has been able to continue to develop for tens of thousands of years just by exploiting the energy inside Krypton, but an overly stable life eventually led to this situation. Apocalypse Xingping pushed you, all the ashes are thrown away. In fact, it is not a fool, because it is true, self-destruct. Chapter 200 Kryptonians can't create humans. Now I'm here to lead you to a brighter future. It doesn't matter if Krypton is destroyed. If you are here, Krypton can still be reborn. With the sons of Krypton, revival of Krypton is just a matter of backhand. Wang Hao looked at Clark, who scratched his head, not quite understanding what Wang Hao meant. In fact, he also really wants to revive Krypton. After all, Kryptonians are his kind in the final analysis. On Earth, no matter how much he agrees with the Earth's culture, he is always a bit out of place. After all, a Titan lives in a heap of ants. No matter how good his mentality is, there will always be times when he loses balance. To put it bluntly, in Clark's eyes, people on Earth are actually worse than fools in the eyes of normal people. After all the things that can stump people on Earth are as simple as eating and drinking for Clark. So Clark actually wanted to find a home for himself, otherwise why would he surrender on his own initiative? In order to save Louise, on the one hand, he also wants to get in touch with his compatriots. It's just that Zod is too aggressive. He was going to be killed for the creation book, and when it was over, he planned to transform the Earth into the environment of Krypton and let the people on Earth die. In that case, the son of Krypton would directly become the son of the farm. Kal-El becomes Clark Kent. Where's the creation book? After hearing Wang Hao's words, Zod came to his senses and immediately asked Clark. Ah, it's gone. Clark hesitated for a moment, then replied. Zod's claws went numb on the spot. What do you mean by missing? I saw with my own eyes that your father was put into your spaceship and launched to the Earth with you. Where's your spaceship? Advertisement, it's okay if it's gone. Zod ran all the way to the Earth for this thing. If it's gone, wouldn't it mean that the Kryptonians are dead? Kryptonians thrive on that stuff. My dad melted it, as if it was integrated into my body. Clark glanced at Wang Hao, thinking that with the presence of the great god, he should be fine, so he said it straight. But it doesn't matter. Zod's eyes lit up, and he was ready to grab Clark and cut him open. Hey, wait, what are you doing? Bleed him, prepare to make a man. Zod said definitely with a face of reason. In his understanding, creating a human must be done in the creation book. But Wang Hao showed an expression that was as expected. Then he raised his chin at Clark. Tell him how to make a man. Zod looked at Clark again and said one last thing. Isn't it just putting the genetic information in the creation book into the Genesis curry for cultivation? This is something that children on Krypton know. Only then did Clark realize that, dare you, is there no such thing as S*X education on Krypton? But he was still a little hesitant, or rather embarrassed. How do you explain this? Can't I demonstrate it live? Clark looked at Wang Hao helplessly. He was also a 10,000-year-old animal man. Although he was not his first love ignored him. Lena, his high school classmate who fell in love with him, ended up running away with someone else, and he only got to first base, and he didn't even touch second base. Advertisement, yes, if you don't know how to do it, then let someone who can do it come, or even better, show him some documentaries about human reproduction, and let those teachers who are both virtuous and artistic to guide him. Clark suddenly realized, and a smile appeared on his face, then he looked around and found the console. Clark saw the webpage he was familiar with opened, and without hesitation, he directly entered the URL of a website he often visited. What is this? Why don't these people wear clothes? Strange, why did he put his excretory organs in there? Seeing Wang Hao appear, Zod said excitedly. P.S. It's been a long time since I've asked for a review of flowers, let's make a round of it, buddy. Besides, this number of words is not enough to count money. Ask for flowers, yes. The function of the creation secret book is not to let you restrain your own people, it is just a tool to help you grow, but it should not be your guideline for everything. And after Clark, the Enlightenment mentor, finished playing more than a dozen life documentaries covering various types, races and skin colors, Wang Hao also took Fiona back to the cabin. Immediately, pictures of shameless and naked people appeared in the picture. So Zod and the others don't even know what they like to do. The little soldier sitting on the seat nodded, and then gave Clark some manipulations. As a child born in this way full of future and hope? Can a child born in this way make Kryptonian civilization more glorious than ever? In the spaceship, Zod was still frowning and discussing great philosophical issues with Clark. Clark remembered what he had said when he had turned Joe-Al's AI on in that ship. Can you connect to the internet on Earth? Wang Hao gave Clark an expression that really meant you, then opened a separate space, pulled Fiona in, and the two disappeared directly into the cabin. This is reproduction, the normal reproduction process of life in the natural state. Creating a human does not require a creation treasury. He is the first naturally born baby on Krypton for thousands of years, and all the others are made in the breeding warehouse. Don't look at this, I will teach you this myself. Chapter 201. The Birth of the Celestials. To what extent are the Kryptonians stuck in their ways? In order to save jobs such as workers, they even gave up a lot of high-tech applications. Obviously, with their technology, robots are enough to complete most of the production work, and they can focus more on artistic creation and the pursuit of truth. And restricting the genes also brought them very obvious problems, extreme. Zod was so extreme that he rebelled directly without thinking at all. In fact, he could completely avoid the destruction of Krypton by restarting the colonization of the galaxy. Take your own men to stand on the top of the mountain or something, and the Council of Elders can't control him. And Clark's father Joe, 787, Al was extreme, looking at everything from the perspective of a scientist. Ah, these are predestined, so be it, accept your fate and you're done. You have given birth to a baby yourself, then prove it is wrong, you have reached a conclusion, and you are the most authoritative scientist on Krypton, then go to prove it. Zod always listened to your words before, but you are lucky, you see through it yourself, but you don't tell others. So genetic adjustment is a good technology, but there is a problem with laxing people's use. I don't know which Sabi came up with this idea, using genetic debugging to determine the belonging of each person after birth. Your planet Krypton is a republic, not even an emperor, you have a problem with a hereditary system, right? Zod took one last look at Clark, then at Wang Hao. But Krypton is gone. Earth, this planet is very good. I plan to use the Genesis engine to transform it into a planet suitable for the survival of Kryptonians. No, that way people on Earth will be killed and injured countless times. But Krypton will rise from the ashes. Zod glared at Clark, not at all grateful for being led in by the old driver. Advertisement, your father betrayed us, betrayed Krypton, and sat by without stopping Krypton's destruction. Do you want to do the same now? As a high-ranking person, Zod's aura is still much stronger than the just new Clark. Being pressed by him repeatedly, Clark was suddenly speechless. It's just that his eyes are firm, and he has made up his mind that he will never allow Zod to do anything to the Earth. Cough. Seeing the two melon skins arguing again, Wang Hao couldn't help but speak. Zod is what he wants. He is a good commander. Although he is not a good government leader, he is still qualified as a military commander. As for Clark, his potential is there, and Wang Hao, the secret code of creation, also needs it. As long as that thing is not used indiscriminately, it is still a very awesome thing. At least, Wang Hao can use it to mass-produce Kryptonian warriors. Or the naturally born Kryptonians will adjust them to the strongest state after choosing the profession of warrior. Yes, in Wang Hao's view, the role of the creation codex should be to select first and then debug. Instead of debugging first and then not giving you a choice. To put it bluntly, it is a matter of choosing a career in online games. Each person has an initial template, one transfer at 10th level, and you can freely choose to transfer to a warrior or a magician. Then level 20 turn 2, warriors can be transformed into knights or swordsmen or archers. Magician can be converted into summoner, elemental magician and priest. Kryptonite's genetic adjustment should be like this, and it should be professionally adjusted according to the profession you choose. Advertisement. It's not that someone else gave you the start, you are an archer, and then you can only play archer, and you can't even delete the number to retrain and open the trumpet. If a game is the latter, it must be cool. A game with no choice will not be played by anyone. Sooner or later the server will be shut down, just like Krypton will be destroyed sooner or later. Listen to me, I have already said that I want to give you a brighter future. As my people, is it difficult to solve the problems of the mere planet? Wang Hao said very casually, then he waved his little hand. In an instant, the entire Kryptonian spaceship disappeared directly above the Earth and came to Wang Hao's kingdom of God. Hey, here is the new home of the Kryptonians, but from now on, you will no longer be called Kryptonians. I will give you a new name and a new life. You will be called celestial beings from now on. Belong to me, celestials. At the feet of Wang Hao and Zod, there is a huge and boundless vast continent. Although it hasn't been taken care of much, but because of this, the continent reconstructed from the shattered morag is so simple and unadorned, which is conducive to carving. The Kryptonians, no, the Celestials, they will become the citizens of this continent, bathed in the sunshine from Wang Hao, and thrive here. And when Wang Hao needs it, they will take up arms at 4.4, fight for Wang Hao, and defeat all opponents. Looking at the seemingly thin land under his feet, Zod was shocked, but also a little excited. Kryptonians can finally be reborn and revived, my god. Zod got down on one knee and offered his loyalty and faith to Wang Hao. Although Clark was not as excited as Zod, he also had a smile on his face. The Earth has been saved from catastrophe, and the Kryptonians ushered in a new life. Clark, do you plan to stay here and do your part for your fellow man, or stay on Earth to act as some kind of protector? Chapter 202. I am coming to the country of daughters. I'm going back to Earth, but I'll help. Clark's mind was full of a certain figure, especially after he took Zod and others to watch several special films just now. His thoughts on a certain figure became more and more obvious. And hearing what Clark said, Zod immediately became unhappy. But before he had an attack, Wang Hao grabbed Zod, walked up to Clark, glanced at him and said, I can understand you leaving. After all, you used to live on the Earth, but my people now have needs and need things in your body. After speaking, Wang Hao stretched out a hand, and the invisible light turned into a precision instrument, directly penetrating into every corner of Clark's body. Analyzing the target gene data, the explanation is complete, the gene database is extracted, the Kryptonian secret code is reorganized, and the reorganization is complete. Haoshin's voice kept ringing in Wang Hao's mind. It is very difficult for Kryptonians. For Kryptonians, the behavior that may kill Clark is nothing to Wang Hao. Jor-El engraved the genetic data in every cell in Clark's body, the so-called Kryptonian secret code, the secret code of creation. In this way, it was extracted by Wang Hao. Because of this, the toolman Clark lost his role. By the way, that expedition ship is what we need. After extracting the secret tome of creation, Wang Hao spoke to Clark again. If there is any help, then you can take it, and treat it as my little help to Krypton. Clark didn't care about things outside of him. Hearing his answer, Wang Hao nodded in satisfaction. Then, with a wave of his hand, the expedition spaceship parked by Clark at the North Pole directly entered the Kingdom of God. In this case, together with the creation engine of the former Kryptonian colonial outpost brought by Zod, basically a Kryptonian civilization can be re-established. Definitely, now Celestials. Advertisement. Naturally, it is impossible for Wang Hao to copy a Kryptonian civilization as it is, that would be too stupid. Krypton's social system model and cultural inheritance form do not meet Tian Hao's expectations. What Wang Hao wants is a thriving civilization that believes in itself. It can meet Wang Hao's various needs for culture and military affairs. And these are obviously not what the rigid Kryptonian civilization in the past could do. First use the cultivation warehouse to create a group of Kryptonian civilians, and then let them reproduce naturally. After a few generations, their inheritance will enter the normal mode and form a stable and sustainable civilization. Natural breeding is a must, otherwise, Wang Hao might as well make a batch of robots. At least in terms of combat effectiveness, the existence of mechanical super is not weaker than the current Clark. The remaining Kryptonian fighters on the ground were also summoned by Zod to leave, and all the aggressive Kryptonians immigrated into Wang Hao's Kingdom of God. Except that Clark returned to his normal life, and then planned to apply for a job at the planet daily and work as a colleague with a certain female reporter. Fiona also stayed on the Earth. Because she was instructed by someone, she firmly believes that the child born to the strongest will also be the strongest and have the best potential. So now she is with the strongest all day long, and wants to give birth to the most powerful future leader for the celestial human race. Definitely, this kind of thing has a long way to go, it's not something she can do if she wants to. A turmoil was attributed to Invisible, and the metropolis that should have been severely damaged in the disaster was fine. However, the arrival of Xiron still had some impact on the world. Especially a reporter who runs very fast, always likes to disappear at the scene of the incident, but the guy who can always take key pictures afterwards has caused a lot of things. Rescue people from car accidents, rescue people from fire, save people from wrecked ships, planes. Anyway, I don't know why that guy insists on flying around in a cloak. So much so that journalists all over the world now only care about one issue. Advertisement. Where is Superman? I think he's looking for a draw. I have been in this world for almost half a year. The 600th world is still very different from the Marvel world. From the details of the environment and the city, the tour group can be regarded as experiencing an exotic atmosphere. And the biggest change in this year is naturally that there is an extra guy in this world who likes to fly around in a red cloak. But after visiting the ordinary attractions, 777 Wang Hao also started to look for the next key target. Pietro, I heard that Barry Ren in Central City is awake, I think you can go and see. My brother-in-law got the order, and it turned into a silver lightning and disappeared in place. Sao Bao, Dr. Stone in Star Lab has a big baby, you will definitely be very interested. The mother box is definitely a big baby for players on the technology side. Not to mention, that thing also gave birth to a half-human, half-mechanical monster, Cyborg. The two eyesores are gone, and there are two more. Thor, that new bar has a new wine, this is a card, go and swipe it yourself. As for the last one, a certain archer who woke up from sleep and awakened a special ability, Wang Hao just smiled at him, and then he said it himself. Then what, I'll also go to Central City to have a look. I think my ability can still be developed. Slip away. All the redundant male creatures are gone, and there is no obtrusive existence. Then Wang Hao said to the ladies, let's go to the daughter's country. Chapter 203. You have failed this city, daughter country. Why'd I sound so much like your private plot? When she heard that Wang Hao was going to a daughter country, Natasha Romanoff immediately raised her hands. Channer has never been jealous, but seeing that there are more and more stars in the starry sky, Natasha Romanoff still feels that it is necessary for her to declare the issue of sovereignty. Even if it is to thank her for helping me in the first place. In the starry sky of the Lord of Stars, the sun, there are many stars, but there can only be one moon. It has nothing to do with me. Okay, this is what Zeus did, and the queen is still his wife. Wang Hao has an innocent face. The Amazons belong to the subsidiary forces of the Olympus gods. They believe in Artemis, the goddess of hunting, but their king Hippolyta is missed by Zeus. Then Diana was born. The brilliance of his sun god has nothing to do with this matter. Amazon, I seem to have heard such legends. After hearing Wang Hao's explanation, Natasha Romanoff and others thought about it for a while, and then vaguely remembered that there was indeed such a passage in the myth of Sheila that I heard when I was a child. Then let's go. Where is the daughter country? Channer didn't think so much about Natasha Romanoff. On the contrary, she showed a very interested look. After all, a country of daughters, without men, how on earth would they have children? Like in Journey to the West, is there a spring of mother and son? They are in the Atlantic Ocean. Because of the magic barrier set up by Zeus, the outside world cannot see the island where they live. Definitely, it is impossible for Zeus' Rubik's Cube to stop Wang Hao, let alone a dead Zeus. Just using the power of light, Wang Hao easily determined the location of Paradise Island. Advertisement, how should we say, are we going straight there, or how? The location has been determined, but whether to break in like this is a problem. Let's go by boat. Isn't it an island? Get a cruise ship? Anyway, the guys in the way were taken away. Natasha Romanoff stretched, she hadn't relaxed in a long time. And when he thought of the girl beside him wearing a cool three-point style and having a pool party with him on the cruise ship, Wang Hao also immediately agreed to this request. He quickly took out his mobile phone and called classmate Bruce. Is there a cruise ship? You should have one, a bigger one, with all kinds of equipment, drivers and staff. No, I bring it myself. When the cruise ship arrived, Wang Hao beckoned again, and brought over the group of maids staying in the church in the next universe. Let's go, beauties, go shopping first, buy some clothes, food, it will take a long time to take a boat to the Atlantic Ocean from here. As a result, the major shopping malls in the metropolis were looted again, but this time it was those shops that sold swimsuits and various cool summer clothes. In the early morning of the next day, the cruise ship was ready, and Wang Hao took his star cluster and set off directly down the coastline, and then crossed the Strait of Panama into the Atlantic Ocean. According to their sailing speed, the whole journey will last about a week. At the same time, in the Star Lab in Central City, two people were staring at each other. Are you a speedster too? The unanimous words made the two people look surprised. Definitely, it wasn't just the two of them who were surprised. There were several people beside them who were equally surprised. A man sitting in a wheelchair with an elegant face and eyes full of wisdom frowned and thought hard. He is the owner of this laboratory, the main person in charge of the previous particle accelerator explosion, Dr. Harrison Wells. Definitely, he also has another identity, the supervillain from the 25th century, Reverse Lightning, Dr. Albert Sohn. Where did this speedster come from? Advertisement. Reverse Flash sat in a wheelchair, his mind full of question marks. As an avid fan of the Flash from the future, Sohn has studied all of the Flash's opponents, as well as all speedsters since him. In the end, he successfully extracted a sliver of the Speed Force from the Flash's battlesuit, and reversed it, creating his own anti-Speed Force. And how strong is he? Or, how fast is he? On the official speed chart produced by DC, he ranks 3rd and Superman ranks 4th. And now, he's numb. A speedster he had never seen before appeared. Meanwhile, Star City, Hawkeye, who originally planned to go to Central City with Quicksilver, looked at the slightly dim sky in front of him, feeling a little depressed. It's okay to be driven away by the boss, but he was dumped when he wanted to go to the Central City together. There's no way. Quicksilver ran away in a hurry, and he couldn't catch up even if he wanted to. I called him, and it turned out that he had already arrived, Nuo Wang's. He was halfway there, and finally had no choice but to stay here by himself. Hey, let's find a place to rest for the night first. The lonely purple-clothed archer walked around for a long time, and then found a bar to have a drink or two. It was already dark when he came to the street again after eating and drinking. Boom. The intense gunshots made Hawkeye stun for a moment, and then looked not far ahead, only to see a group of people running there while turning their heads and shooting. Then I looked behind them again, and saw a guy who couldn't see the color of his clothes clearly in the night, shuttling through the city. A sharp arrow pierced through the air and hit the person who shot in front of him. You guys have failed the city. Chapter 204 Green Arrow vs. Hawkeye. What strange character. Lin Tay frowned and looked at the archer who was swinging between the buildings with the rope tied to the knock. His face was squeezed together. But for some reason, such an action gave him a very familiar feeling. It was as if someone he knew very well did it all the time. But the pursuit in front of him is not over yet. Under the light, the guy finally revealed his appearance. He was wearing a green leather armor and a hood on his head, so he couldn't see his face clearly, wearing a mask. Hiding his head and showing his tail, he doesn't look like a good person. But Kei Lin Tay looked at the person he was chasing over there again. Tisk tisk, all of them are vicious, and they are holding obviously miscellaneous non-standard firearms, gangsters. At any rate, as an agent, Kei Lin Tay can still distinguish the general identities of these guys, so combining the situation of both sides, the problem is self-evident. Vendetta. Forget it, 507 doesn't care. Hawkeye, who made up his mind to ignore it, walked away, planning to find a hotel to sleep temporarily, and then take the car to the central city every day. But he doesn't want to cause trouble, but it doesn't mean that things won't find him. As soon as he stepped away, the shouts behind him caught up. He turned his head and saw that those people were being chased in a panic, and one of them just rushed towards him. Don't, you have to die. Kei Lin Tay raised his foot and kicked towards the person who was running towards him, but he didn't want to kick it, and that person happened to chase a sharp arrow from behind. Pissed. The sharp arrow pierced into the flesh, and even the arrow shaft was painted green. The sharp arrow directly pierced through the boy, making him stare wide in shock, and then slowly fell to the ground. Rod Ainge, you have failed this city. Advertisement. Before the person arrives, the voice arrives first. The man in the green, BIBC, hood rushed over with a stride, and then he saw Hawkeye, who was raising his feet for the first time, and bowed his head again. Hey, why did people die? Oliver Quinn's eyes widened. God is sorry, he hasn't killed anyone in so long since his debut, although he has killed before, but after returning to Star City and starting as Green Arrow, he really hasn't killed anyone. Every time he tortured these people, he would drop them at the gate of the police station and hand them over to Officer Lance, the father of his ex-girlfriend. Why did you kill him? Oliver glared at the man in front of him. Things have not gone well for him recently. Someone pretended to be Green Arrow and attacked and killed the people on his list in order to discredit his identity. He instinctively saw Kei Lin Tay as that person, but when he heard his words, Kei Lin Tay was stunned. Are you kidding me? You didn't kill this? Your arrow is still on it? But Kei Lin Tay didn't have time to say it, just because Oliver had already shot him. Hey, you really are not a good person. Seeing Oliver shoot directly, Kei Lin Tay said that he had seen through you a long time ago, but as an elite agent, his skills are not bad, so he immediately started to fight back. Fist to fist, foot to foot, Oliver's agility was honed in 5 years of life and death. And Kei Lin Tay, as Hawkeye, is the worst one in the Avengers Alliance, but at least he is a member of the superhero organization. Superhero does not represent ordinary people. But his superior strength compared with ordinary people made Oliver even more convinced that he was the guy who pretended to be hunting everywhere. Especially when Oliver pulled away after punching together, and then turned around and shot an arrow towards Kei Lin Tay's face. Kei Lin Tay's performance was very essence. Advertisement. He turned sideways in the same way, and then slapped his back, a folding bow popped out, and at the same time, an arrow hidden by Kei Lin Tay in the crook of his arm was taken out and placed on it. Whizzing. 2 sharp arrows pierced through the air, and Kei Lin Tay came first, and shot down Oliver with his own arrow along the trajectory of Oliver's arrow. As a master archer, it is his basic operation to carry a bow and arrow with him. But such behavior, in Oliver's opinion, directly characterizes him as the behavior of the mysterious archer. Green Arrow versus Hawkeye is imminent. But unlike the two guys who were both ready to make trouble, the one who was the best at making trouble was very law-abiding at the moment. He just followed Dr. Silas Stone from the former Star Laboratory and sneaked into a place in this world where the US government specializes in researching and storing various alien technologies. Red Room Lab. That is, the place where Zod's corpse and the Apocalypse Motherbox were studied. It's alien technology again. Unfortunately, I have the technology of Xandar, and I don't lack these things. After sneaking into the laboratory as a well-known scientist, after a search, Mr. Tony showed disdain, and expressed his disdain for these technologies that he might have coveted. Wafirk. What the hell is this? Although many of the previous technologies, including some of the Kryptonian technologies, Mr. Tony did not care. But when the file was turned to the end, a special thing appeared. The square box, with strange patterns printed on it, is called the energy core by the people in the laboratory. The same thing as Tesseract. Teacher Tony flipped through the materials. The more he read, the more smiles on his face. Aha! I found the big baby. Chapter 205 Troublesome Daily Affairs. Happy New Year. The mother box is a great thing. Whether it is Marvel or DC, too many things have been weakened in the movie. But the mother box is one of the few items that has not been weakened too much. This thing originally represents the highest technology in the universe, but at the same time, it is a cutting-edge life computer in the universe, and it also has the function similar to the Kryptonian creation engine. The combination of the three can directly change the state of the living planet. Good stuff. Although I still don't know what the mother box is, but after Mr. Tony read the research materials in the Red Room Laboratory, he felt that this thing must be a good thing. Since it was excavated in Europe during World War II, the Red Room Laboratory has not given up on its research for decades. Moreover, each generation of scientists can always discover something new after research. Sound familiar? Isn't the Tesseract next door also like this? Even now, Tony still carries the arc reactor based on Tesseract research. After he took down Xandar, he thought he could replace his arc reactor with new technology, but it turned out that their energy core was not as good as the arc reactor. In other words, the technology of arc reactor is the most powerful thing even in the entire universe. Because this thing was made by Howard Stark based on Tesseract's energy operation mode, it can even be regarded as a low-profile version of Tesseract. Because of this, Tony knows very well that there are some treasures in the universe that have technology far beyond the creation of civilization. This is the greatness of nature and the majesty of the universe. Should I take it away? Tony spent a day in the Red Room lab before finally giving up on the idea. Advertisement. It's not that there's anything wrong with the laboratory's security measures. Instead, Tony discovered that Dr. Silas, who he followed, was conducting a very critical scientific research related to the mother box. He is actually trying to recreate the human body with the mother box. Tony couldn't help being moved when he saw the body of his football player's son that was frozen in a box by Dr. Silas. This science of reversing life and death is enough to make any geek shudder. Just like mythology lovers saw a real dragon, scientists touch this kind of forbidden zone of God, touch life, even though Tony has seen his boss show the reincarnation of life and death more than once, but this is their use of wisdom and science trying to beat the gods. Almost without any hesitation, Tony quickly joined Dr. Silas's special team through his professional knowledge and helped him carry out this heaven-defying research. Definitely, it is also for him to get more information about his mother. He was able to resurrect life and recreate the human body. If he used its power to give life to his armor, wouldn't that mean he had a duplication? Test 72nd, 3, 2, 1. The energy source was switched on, and Victor Stone's remnant body placed on the experimental table was covered by various mechanical parts, otherwise his organs would have failed long ago, and he would not be able to breathe his last breath. At this moment, all these parts are connected to the mother box. Stab Lala. The electric current flowed on the mother box in Victor's body, and the originally unconscious body began to scream shrilly. Damn it, is it really okay? Tony held his head and looked at Victor, who was activated like a robot, with an expression of disbelief on his face. Dr. Silas turned his head and glanced at this guy. If it wasn't for his excellent technique, he would have given him a kick just by saying this. Advertisement, ask for flowers, failed. No, why do you want to join the team? Why do you have to work for half a day? At the same time, the mother box that had absorbed such strong energy also began to vibrate, sending out unknown signals to the dark void. This time, it's not just a simple activation, his limbs are being regenerated, and his flesh and blood are disappearing. What is true? Dr. Silas looked crazy, and continued to work with this momentum, and continued to start experiments again and again. Are you really holding the mentality of trying to play? But before everyone in the team became happy, Victor, who was gradually regaining consciousness, suddenly stopped shouting. After absorbing a wave of energy, Mu Jin also suddenly fell into a sinking state. The 81st experiment officially begins. I think the energy source is unstable and not strong enough. The electric current we drive is pressurized by a transformer, and there is still an output limitation. I can provide some special energy sources. Taking out his big baby, Tony looked at Dr. Silas sincerely, under the latter's excited eyes. A peculiar passage slams into the hole. Blazing white light broke through the roof and reached the sky. Connected to the arc reactor, surging energy poured into the mother box, and along with this energy, rich life force poured into Victor's body. No, I'm not giving up on this. I've lost your mother, and I can't lose you again. Dr. Silas looked at his son, who had been crackling for a long time but suddenly stopped moving, and felt desperate. And Tony, who was moved by his spirit, also broke out with great enthusiasm, and he didn't even plan to keep it private, and shared some special techniques at this time. Various mechanical parts covered his body, and a half-human, half-mechanical life was being born. Chapter 206. Steppenwolf strikes. The sonic boom channel suddenly opened, but this familiar scene reminded Tony of his past experiences in an instant. He had seen a similar teleportation tunnel over New York City, and that time, a group of bug-like Chidori came out. JARVIS, armed. Almost the moment the passage was opened, Tony knew that he could no longer hide. Like mercury pouring down the ground, a layer of nanomaterials as thin as a cicada's wing quickly covered his body. Water. Dr. Silas, who was more concerned about his son's life and death than the boom channel, looked back and found that Tony had armed himself. But before he could open his mouth to ask what was going on, 470. A shrill cry came from the white sonic boom channel. Then, a monster that looked more like a bug than a Chidori rushed out. I knew it. There was no need to ask about the purpose of coming, to communicate, etc. Tony didn't say a word, and the firepower was fully fired, and the particle cannon shot towards the passage like raindrops. Get out of here. Let JARVIS control the artillery to fire freely. Tony turned his head and said to Dr. Silas, who was checking Victor's status over there. Victor. Dr. Silas Stone was unmoved, but looked at his son, who gradually regained consciousness, with tears in his old eyes. He lost his wife in that accident and nearly lost his son. He was almost going to die in old age, but fortunately, he managed to save his son's life with the mother box, even if he would become a cyborg from now on. Go. Seeing that the father and son were still unmoved, Tony became more and more anxious. The demons were not much stronger than Chidori, and they could deal with ordinary human soldiers. But the problem is that these miscellaneous soldiers all have a common characteristic. Advertisement. It's just that they are really like bugs, too many to remember. Green blood splattered, and Tony continued to fire, barely able to keep the situation under control, and let the monsters come out at a speed equal to his killing speed. But more and more monsters rushed out, killing them is definitely endless. Most importantly, although he hasn't seen it yet, Tony knows that there must be a more powerful leader behind this passage. And as if led by Tony's premonition, a voice really appeared suddenly. After all these years, Mother, you have finally called me home. There was a sudden delay in the appearance of the monster. Tony didn't feel the slightest joy at all, but immediately changed the armor into a bigger and more powerful form. Boom. The tall body fell to the ground, and a hideous figure holding a battle axe appeared in the laboratory. Oh, the big shot is here. Tony, who had just completed his transformation, looked at the gray-skinned alien with a double-horned helmet on his head, an ancient battle armor, and the battle axe in his hand, and his heart suddenly felt cold. Take melee cold weapons, it's over. In the interstellar era, instead of using guns, they're playing with cold weapons, which can only explain one thing. That is, guns are just toys to him, and the battle axe in his hand is more powerful than any guns. And such a person, Tony also happened to know one. Thor. What? Flames erupted from behind the 2.5-meter tall steel titan, pushing its huge and heavy body straight to the front. Tony hugged Steppenwolf by the waist, then slammed directly into the wall and went straight through. This is the only way to keep Stone and his son. Advertisement in the room really wasn't the right place for him to fight. The thick wall was pierced through by 2 titans, rushed out of the hidden building, and came to the square outside. The previous movement has attracted attention, and a group of soldiers is rushing here. This is the secret laboratory of the May government, which belongs to the military restricted area. But the question is, can the weapons of the people on Earth really be able to deal with the destroyers from the planet Apocalypse? Go away, this is not something you can handle. Getting up from the ground, Tony looked at the Steppenwolf on the opposite side who was also doing the same, and the soldiers behind him who were still eager to try and plan to shoot, and hurriedly shouted. Primitive humans. Looking back at the American soldiers who were about to show off their gun operations, Steppenwolf sneered with disdain. It's you who makes me a little bit interested in fighting. The tomahawk swung, and the golden light lingered on it. Tony swung his left arm, and a transparent shield suddenly appeared on the giant battle armor, and it was on the way of the tomahawk. Crack. Oh, it doesn't look like much. The energy shield was directly shattered, and the armor's arm 3.2 made a crisp cracking sound. Yet Tony didn't hesitate or stop in surprise. With a wave of his right arm, a golden energy sword gushes out and stabs at the Steppenwolf. Slow. Facing Tony's counterattack, Steppenwolf still had that rampant, conceited smile on his lips, and then turned sideways to avoid the stab. Dodging the stabbing attack, but it was not over yet, Steppenwolf took advantage of the situation and turned around, trying to pull out the battle axe and pursue the victory. However, when the arm was pulled, the tomahawk was not pulled out as he wished. On the contrary, it was his miscalculation that gave Tony the angle to attack. Your words, because of how red, Chapter 207, Sentry Armor appears. The energy sword disappeared, and the right hand directly grabbed Steppenwolf's chest, and then the energy of the reactor on the chest surged, and from behind, Tony launched a fierce attack. This is a nano armor, not the original mechanical parts. After Steppenwolf's battle axe chopped off his left arm, Tony took advantage of the opportunity to wrap the battle axe with nano robots and lock it. What? The energy cannon with the full power output of the reactor in his chest was directly blasted away, and the Steppenwolf smashed towards the flat building in the distance, smashing it to pieces. Let you leave quickly. One blow was successful, but Tony had no way to continue to chase, because the soldiers gathered around him not only did not decrease, but increased. Who are you? A man who looked like an officer confronted Tony instead. Idiot, now, get out. Too lazy to explain to these people, Tony shot his left hand directly at the ground, and then sent a violent impact on the standing Steppenwolf with his right hand. The US 18th Army soldiers who were attacked by far more fire than their own fled in all directions, and the ensuing battle made them finally understand. Why did the armored titan force himself and the others back? Because this is simply not a battle they can participate in. Run, run. The soldiers fled in all directions. Seeing this scene, Tony breathed a sigh of relief, but the Steppenwolf mocked mercilessly. Do you think they can escape? My army of demons has come to this world. They will hunt and kill everyone who is afraid. Let them die in fear and live again. As the Steppenwolf's voice fell, there were bursts of shrill roars again, and from the laboratory that Tony and the others drilled out earlier, ugly green monsters with wings began to follow the fearful atmosphere in the air. With your own goals. Fact. Advertisement. Seeing such a scene, Tony's mood suddenly reached a freezing point, and he also clearly realized that now is not the time for him to hide. JARVIS, open it for me. Staying in this world for as long as a year, Tony has never let go of his research, and in the end, he successfully manufactured his latest war power. Sentry Armor. A strong energy surge forced the Steppenwolf away, and then the nanomaterials on his body quickly faded away. In the energy field, a set of all-black armor that was completely different from Tony's style suddenly appeared in the void, and then enveloped him. You shouldn't have messed with me. Tony, who had returned to his normal height and file size, looked at the tall Steppenwolf in front of him, and made a voice from his face. Oh, I'd like to see how it goes. Steppenwolf saw Tony, whose appearance changed drastically, waving the battle axe in his hand, his face full of fighting intent. Then take a good look. The black armored warrior suddenly disappeared in place, and the pupils of the Steppenwolf shrank, but he didn't realize how Tony disappeared. Then in the next second, Tony, covered in hot magma, reappeared, only this time, behind Steppenwolf. What? The hot magma sprayed on his body, and the Steppenwolf grunted in pain, but the fighting spirit on his face became more and more crazy. But before he could turn around, Tony disappeared in the same place again, and then the sky was covered with dark clouds, and lightning and thunder turned into chains and fell towards the Steppenwolf. Rock. The shape of the battle armor changed, and the figure suddenly became larger by several points, followed by a substantial increase in strength and defense. Boom. Advertisement. As if falling from the sky, Tony, who launched a surprise attack from the air, smashed directly at the Steppenwolf, who was waving his battle axe to defend against the thunder. He didn't know who his opponent was, he only knew that it must be an invader from Outland. As Tony raised his little hand, the metal objects around the entire laboratory began to tremble. Go! After being hit by Tony, the Steppenwolf who flew out jumped up, wiped the bloodstains from the corner of his mouth, and roared at Tony. The sharp blades all over the sky turned into a blooming flower, like a shredder turned on at full power, and it was Steppenwolf among them who was facing the end of shredding. Buzz. It can be considered as having been with Magneto for a few days, and Tony will naturally not lack the genetic data of this king of magnetism. From his image to his declaration and behavior after appearance, he is a typical villain in that kind of movie. Since he is a villain, there is no need to hold back. Countless metal fragments shattered, reorganized, turned into sharp blades, and then turned into a storm, enveloping the Steppenwolf in it. Ah, that's not enough. Is that all you can do? The energy shock ability extracted from the Summer family poured towards the Steppenwolf as if endlessly. Definitely not. I have more. Death Lotus. Accompanied by the words, there were several crimson shock beams. In the face of such an attack, facing this powerful enemy with all kinds of strange abilities and various means, even Steppenwolf can only raise his battle axe to block in front of him. But he was still strong, and he was hit 420 by such an offensive, and he still didn't fall down. Tony couldn't help admiring his tenacity. If there are satellite images aligned here, it will be found that the magnetic field here has undergone extremely strong changes. Chapter 208 Fairy Fights. Ask for help. Superman. The extremely fast rotating metal storm almost reached the limit of physical damage. Metal particles controlled by magnetism, in high-speed rotation, wipe out the wrapped objects in the simplest and most brutal way. And this kind of attack is also very effective. After using this move, which can be called the most lethal move for him, Tony can clearly hear the cries of the Steppenwolf coming from the storm. But just to be on the safe side, he continued to do this for a long time until his magnetic power reserves were somewhat exhausted, and he finally let go of his hand. Even Thor can't survive this trick, can he? Tony still left a question mark. After all, he has never really fought against Thor, although judging from his various observation data, Thor's physical fitness is unable to withstand such intensive and high-quality attacks. But who knows if he will have other means. The metal storm dissipated, and there was a clanging sound. It was the sound of metal particles with blood falling to the ground. Seeing the figure kneeling on the ground, Tony stepped forward, barely heaving a sigh of relief. Unexpectedly, an accident forced him to use the strongest skill of the Sentry armor. With this move of the King of Magnetism, if he was facing Thanos' army, everyone except Thanos himself would basically be wiped out. But I didn't expect that this time it would be used against a person. Let me see what kind of existence you are. 1 step, 2 steps, Tony was getting closer and closer to Steppenwolf, and an inexplicable sense of crisis became clearer in his heart, making him flustered. JARVIS, check the vital signs of the creature in front of you. As the voice fell, a tall figure suddenly bounced up from the ground. The bloody Steppenwolf was not dead. Boom. There was no time to change the shape, and there was no time to activate more than a dozen defensive modes, but barely opened a layer of defensive shield. Tony let out a muffled grunt, and was directly knocked out. Advertisement. The Steppenwolf with purple blood all over his body roared angrily, looking at Tony who was knocked out by him. The wounds on his flesh and blood body were rapidly healing. Regenerative healing factor. As a member of the new Protoss, this is his inherent ability, and it is precisely with this ability that he can keep his life in Tony's round after round of attacks. The battle axe swung, and the battle axe full of divine power was invincible and fell towards the top of Tony's head. Phantom mode. The big axe fell, directly passing through Tony's body and falling to the ground. A huge amount of deep pit appeared, flames were sprayed from Tony's feet, and his body retreated extremely quickly. Steel. The shape of the black battle armor changed, and the color became silver gray, and the King Kong body of the same style as Colossus appeared. What? Boom. The Steel Titan and the War Titan fought together, and the sudden increase in strength made Steppenwolf feel Tony's difficulty again, but this was not enough. As the military chief of Apocalypse, a war madman who conquered countless planets and parallel universes, the duplication. The strength of Steppenwolf is comparable to that of Superman in a single universe. Boom. The Steel Titan was blown away by a punch, and quickly changed into another form. Damn little bug. Burning in flames, freezing 9 feet, Steppenwolf rushed out of Tony's attacks again and again, as if he would never fall down. Advertisement in the Red Room laboratory was also destroyed, from the initial gate, to the demolition of the entire building, and then to the complete destruction of the entire laboratory. However, the intensity of the battle is still expanding. Tony's energy, which is backed by a large reactor, is almost inexhaustible, and the power of the Steppenwolf connected to the Apocalypse Star will never end. All of a sudden, flames and snowflakes flew, and lasers and thunder danced wildly. In this place that should have been a secret among secrets, the Great War was fought in full swing. So, who the hell are they? In the hexagonal building, looking at the two guys who were obviously not their own personnel who were still fighting on the screen, the generals looked dignified. In the eyes of these two people, their weapons and their military facilities are like building blocks in the hands of children. They will fall down as soon as they are pushed. This is a great provocation. Sir, the information has come out. The soldier in the armor is one of the tour group members who appeared in the Kryptonian incident a year ago. Although there was no contact with the military at the beginning, there was a fight with the Kryptonians at the gate of their military base, and some video materials were still preserved. Wonderful, Zhao. It's him. The participants in the original incident recognized Tony immediately. After all, the mere set of gaudily painted armor still left a deep impression on him. Then it looks like another alien incident. Sir, I suggest we summon him. All eyes are on the face of the person who made the opinion. You mean, we May people can no longer protect ourselves and we can only rely on an alien? He's also from May, but he's just an alien immigrant. The staff officer who made the comment said with a smile. The general sitting at the top rubbed the center of his brows, then said helplessly. Okay, so how do we contact him? Contact, Superman. Chapter 209 Superman, come quickly. The situation is urgent, and now is not the time to worry about anything else. Colonel Marcus, who had previously proposed to contact Superman, glanced at the many generals and office colleagues behind him, with a look of embarrassment on his face. Marcus, come on. Linda, who had been trying to ask out before, waved her small fist to cheer him up. And the generals also showed their expectations. Okay, let me be the hero. Standing on the roof of the hexagonal building, Marcus thought to himself, but the tension and embarrassment in his heart still did not subside. Pulling the tight tie, Marcus looked up at the sky, then separated his feet, pouted his buttocks slightly, and took a deep breath. Superman, we need your help. Marcus yelled. Yes, this is what they figured out. After all, they don't have Superman's phone number or anything, and I heard that Superman can hear any voice calling for help, so yelling is undoubtedly the best choice. Superman, we at the Hexagon need your help. Looking up at the sky, there was no figure 963, Marcus hesitated for a moment and then continued to shout. He felt that maybe he shouted the wrong words. After all, there were so many people in need of help, and it was impossible for Superman to go and see every one of them. So this time, he brought his own identity. I'm Colonel Marcus from the Hexagon, we need your help. In the strong wind on the roof, an elite man in a suit and leather shoes roared loudly, while behind him, a group of people with the highest authority in this country stood quietly watching. I'm crazy to agree to such a thing. Advertisement. After waiting for 2 minutes and seeing Marcus shouting for 2 minutes, the Admiral couldn't help muttering. Indeed, they are the ones who can easily start a world war, and now they are standing on the roof asking for help. This is really ridiculous. The general shook his head. He suddenly felt that he was old. Even though he spent an hour playing on the bed with a pair of sisters 2 days ago, he felt that he was still strong. But today, he was able to agree to such an absurd thing. He was really a bit old-fashioned and confused. The general turned his head and was about to go downstairs, but before he reached the stairs, a sudden exclamation made him stop in his tracks. Looking back, in the sky, the red cloak is so dazzling. What happened? Standing in huge amounts of offices, even though this is a hexagonal building, the people staying here are the most elite elites in this country. But they still couldn't help but focus their eyes on this tall, handsome, flawless man who seemed to have no flaws. Oh, that's right, in one of our official laboratories, 2 terrifying creatures suddenly appeared. Surveillance video showed that despite the discussion and the change of calling people on the top of the building, the fierce fighting over there still did not stop. Not to mention that the Red House laboratory was demolished cleanly, the battle was still spreading to the nearby urban area. And, according to the pictures we took, the person wearing the armor that can change form is exactly him. It's him? Clark frowned, and his eyes fell on Tony, who was wearing the sentry armor. Do you know him? Colonel Marcus asked after seeing Clark's reaction. Bia? Tony Stark. All right, I know the situation, I'll go there now. Advertisement. After the voice fell, the tall figure disappeared into the room. Everyone only felt a gust of wind passing by, and then a sonic boom came from outside the house. Outside the Red Room laboratory, seeing that the energy core had less than 20% energy left, Tony was a little anxious. He has run out of options. Ice, flames, lightning, corrosive poisonous fog, King Kong Titan, laser, metal storm, and even space tearing. Basically, it is a super ability with enough power, and all the powerful skills he collected on Earth X have been used. But the problem is, facing an opponent with high attack and high defense, with unlimited recovery, what can he do with this guy? Even Hulk isn't that hard to fight. Turning into a compound form and flying in the air, Tony kept kiting Steppenwolf with laser cannons and couldn't help sighing. With his firepower, it is not a problem for one person to wipe out an armored division of the US military. But now it's a good thing, hitting someone is hard to kill. Is it going to shake people again? Why'd I work so hard to upgrade? Why are my opponents always so perverted? But what he didn't know was that he had fought hard, and Steppenwolf was also suffering. Even when he was fighting against the gods in ancient times, he never suffered from this kind of crime. Zeus's thunder is powerful, Artemis's magic arrow is a warship with one arrow, and the Green Lantern Corps has endless means. But when all these factors were concentrated on one person, the difficulty and disgust made the Steppenwolf furious and at the same time gave birth to a deep sense of powerlessness. Damn bug, you have the ability to come down. If you have the ability, come here. You are a flightless idiot, with rough skin and thick flesh, horns on the top of the head, uneven skin, and not a lot of dust. Did your mother soak you in cement when she gave birth to you? One round of laser fires down, and the second round of mouth cannons will attack again. As long as you still have the nerve to call me a bug, look at the things under your hands. They are called bugs. The blood is disgusting and green. Are you not aesthetically pleasing? Is it 2 glass balls? Chapter 210I, Steppenwolf, beat the Kryptonian. Right? Mitt's first one-click Panchia comes uninvited. Back then, when I, Tony Stark, silenced the MIT debate club, you trash alien invaders didn't know where to learn to speak. What? With a roar, a glowing axe spun towards Hybelcho's mouth, the stinky bug flew past. I'm mad at you, I'm mad at you, come and chase me, you trash. Although I can't beat it myself, although my energy is almost exhausted, but people are not cowardly. My teacher Tony is the #1 barber at the entrance of the village, the handsome guy who is the favorite of countless girls and daughters-in-law in 10 miles and 8 towns. You can throw anything, cards noodles can't be lost. Unexpectedly, the Steppenwolf who threw the axe did not continue to chase, but turned his head silently to the direction of the laboratory after glaring at the stinky master in the air for half his salary. Hey, don't go. As a generation of cheap saints, also known as itchy skin, when you beat him, he can't beat you, and people are not cowardly, but when you stop beating him, he catches up again. However, this time, the Steppenwolf ignored the annoying ghost behind him. No matter how Tony mocked behind his back, he beeped him himself, but he just hurried on his way, and returned to the rotten door of the laboratory after a few steps. And once here, Steppenwolf and Tony both saw a figure. F*K. Brother, why haven't you left yet? That figure is none other than the instigator of the incident, Dr. Silas. And at this moment, he is holding the mother box packed into the box with one hand, and pulling the small cart behind him with the other hand. On the cart is his son Victor, who has passed out again, or Cyborg. Although a little moved, I respect Drive Silas's behavior of not giving up his son no matter what. But now is clearly not the time to express admiration. Whoosh! Advertisement: the dazzling laser light is shooting towards the position of Dr. Silas. This is definitely not because Mr. Tony is jealous when he sees the relationship between father and son, but because Steppenwolf has already pounced on him. It's over, although the laser was fired in time to stop Steppenwolf's pace, but seeing Steppenwolf's unmoved expression, Tony knew that the father and son were finished. Even if he takes Tony's blow forcefully, Steppenwolf will definitely kill the father and son. Well, Tony didn't know that Steppenwolf was primarily targeting the mother box in the hands of Dr. Silas, but that didn't matter. The Steppenwolf, who had been provoked by him, had already planned to kill all the creatures that appeared in front of his eyes. Teacher Tony couldn't bear to watch the bloody scene anymore. The Steppenwolf, who was tall and burly, at least over 2 meters in his early years, rushed up fiercely. I'm afraid it only takes one round for Dr. Silas to be torn to pieces. Tony has even imagined his screams and howls. That's horrible. What? A miserable howl sounded, and Tony sighed, planning to help them shoot 2 shots out of humanitarianism, all as revenge. If you can't kill him, then shoot 2 shots. Hey, wait, why is this voice not right? Teacher Tony, who had just prepared the 2 shots of Gant's mother, looked at the scene in front of him, a blue figure with 10 red cloaks. Suddenly appearing in front of Dr. Silas, he not only blocked the deadly attack of the Steppenwolf, but even fought back with a little ease. That farm boy. Advertisement: seeing Clark's face, Tony was slightly surprised. But he had seen the terrifying battle between Clark and Fiona. Seeking Flowers 0, that was much more powerful than the little fight he had with the Steppenwolf just now. The outside of the military base was like being bombed by a meteorite. I heard that even the geological structure was changed, and the plate below was directly cracked. As a result, there were continuous earthquakes there, and the base had to be abandoned. This effect Tony can also achieve, but only if he fires at the surface with full firepower. But the situation that day was just the aftermath of their battle. Mr. Stark, who is he? Clark, who stopped Steppenwolf and even punched him back, looked up at Tony in the air without changing his face. He doesn't have much impression of Tony, although he has been in contact with him, but the biggest impression is that he is Wong Hao's younger brother. As for Clark's inquiry, Tony's answer is also very simple and clear. I don't know, an intruder from the outer domain, right? Anyway, as soon as the passage was opened, he appeared with an axe, and then started hacking, and summoned a bunch of ugly and disgusting courtiers. As the saying goes, the villain sues first, although it seems that he did it first, but Steppenwolf is so ugly, so he must be a villain. And hearing Tony's words, Clark's face suddenly became serious, and his gaze at the Steppenwolf in front of him also became unkind. The Steppenwolf was not aware of this at all. He wiped the corner of his mouth after being punched flying by the sudden appearance of Clark, and stood up. And when he saw clearly that the person in front of him was Clark, he suddenly grinned. Kryptonians. Certain memories suddenly came to mind. Tens of thousands of years ago, I slaughtered many of your compatriots. Originally, I planned to take Krypton as my conquest target, but it is a pity that it was directly wiped out in the galaxy. Chapter 211 for Darkseid. Well, no need to explain. As soon as Steppenwolf said these words, Clark knew that he must be a bad person. Then you don't have to be polite when you treat bad guys. The air exploded directly. After a year of precipitation, mainly doing odd jobs in Wong Hao's Kingdom of God, absorbing some sunlight from the source of the sun god, Clark's strength has reached a terrifying level. Although the original Clark is also very strong, you can still see that as Superman, he also has limits. For example, he can lift buildings and aircraft carriers, but you don't think he can lift mountains and continents. But after a year of growth, plus helping to move the small planet, and helping to move the ever-growing Divine Kingdom continent, 760. No one knows his limit except Wong Hao. Kryptonian growth is divided into 2 parts. One is their own awakening. With the degree of sunlight absorption and exercise, the Kryptonians' own limit will continue to increase, although they seem to have no limit. On the other hand, the absorbed sunlight energy is. This is why Kryptonians also have the concept of retreat. And the strength is not entirely dependent on the time spent in the sun, it is also related to age. Like Zod awakening, within a few hours of absorbing solar energy, it has an amount comparable to Clark's decades of growth. This is because of Zod's old age, so the degree of cell awakening, even if he didn't absorb too much sunlight, part of it was automatically awakened. And now, basking in the sunshine from Wang Hao, and undergoing a training that he has never experienced before, this Clark's growth rate can be said to be the left of all Superman in the multi-universe. With one punch, Steppenwolf flew upside down and lost a tooth. With another punch, the corners of Steppenwolf's eyes were crooked and purple blood covered his cheeks. Another punch, Steppenwolf's eyes bulged out, as if someone had punched him in the stomach. Oh, he did get punched in the stomach, but it was too fast to see. Hit him, damn it. Advertisement. Seeing Clark's two swinging punches and an uppercut, Steppenwolf lay down on the ground, reminiscing about the pain just now. What Tony saw was so cool, wasn't it very fierce to chase him just now? What's wrong with you now? Are you up? But Steppenwolf can't get up. If it was the original Clark, his fledgling strength is actually the same, but he is very powerful compared to the people on Earth and other people. However, compared to himself in the parallel universe, Clark's strength is actually not as powerful as imagined. Again, getting in touch with Wang Hao, the sun god, is too important for Superman, son of the sun. As a result, Steppenwolf might fall behind in a duel that should have been about the same, but at least it wouldn't be beaten like this. Anyway, Steppenwolf is also the big boss of Level Universe, the duplication projection. In terms of strength, it is not a problem to be inseparable from Thanos. But it's good now. As soon as he appeared on the stage, he was punched and knocked down. The severe pain distorted Steppenwolf's already ugly face even more. Although it is a regenerative healing factor, the pain is still hard to avoid, but for a war madman like him, the pain is just a stimulant that makes him madder. I will kill you, I will slaughter this planet, and I will burn everything you cherish to ashes. Seeing Steppenwolf's painful appearance, Clark was still hesitating. Did he hit hard? After all, the objects he trained before were Zod, Fiona and others. Although the relationship with Zod is not very good, after all, he is his father-killing enemy, but it can't stop Zod from seeing him unhappy. So the two of them fought each other in the kingdom of God when they had nothing to do. Clark didn't know how much his strength had improved. Because Zod's strength is also improving rapidly, every match is almost 50-50. Advertisement. This punch hit Steppenwolf, and he punched it completely according to the strength he was used to. But it doesn't matter if he has hesitation, but Steppenwolf thinks it's okay, can withstand it, and continues to intensify his efforts. Boom. If it weren't for his body still recovering rapidly, I'm afraid Superman's killing would have become a fact. Tony uttered a voice to relieve the Steppenwolf who was lying on the ground lifeless. Hey, why don't we stop for a moment? How about we let him introduce himself? Let the big guys know his background. By the way, who is this guy? Watching Clark having fun beating there, Tony stroked his chin, studying the guy's image. Well, he's out of shape. Although Clark didn't say that, Tony could imagine that Clark's heart should be like this. As a result, a human flesh sandbag soon appeared in Clark's hand. He didn't seem to say what his name was. What Steppenwolf said made Clark let go of his hands and feet, and the scruples in his heart were still, he strictly abides by the bottom line of not killing. Suddenly it occurred to Tony. I am Steppenwolf, the conqueror of endless worlds. I serve the great dark side. You will all be dead bones in the tomb. The horned helmet on his head was knocked off, his face was covered with purple blood, and the armor on his body was also turned into pieces. The only thing that was still intact was maybe the axe. Slaughtered to death, right? Burned to ashes, right? I'll let you burn and I'll let you slaughter. You only need to control the strength. Don't kill him directly with a single punch, the rest can come at will. The resentful gaze was revealed from those gray eyes, and with the sound of Steppenwolf's voice, a channel composed of sound waves suddenly appeared in the sky. Especially after using clairvoyance to see that Steppenwolf's body would recover automatically, Clark's scruples became even smaller. However, the pain of flesh and blood is definitely indispensable to him. Chapter 212. Motherbox arrived. He ran away. Seeing the Steppenwolf being sucked into the tunnel, Tony and Clark looked at each other. Both of them don't know space-related abilities. Tony does have super abilities of teleportation, but that's the abilities of the armor, not his own. He can only use it, not use it to develop a new ability to control space power. Therefore, for the escape of the Steppenwolf, neither of them had any good solution. However, what is that thing? Why is such a powerful monster summoned? Looking at the mother box held in Dr. Silas's arms, Tony showed surprise. Why are you here? Compared with the appearance of Steppenwolf, Clark was more curious about why Tony appeared in a highly hidden secret department of the government. I'm here to teach them. Do you know this one? Dr. Silas. His son was seriously injured and was about to leave. He used special techniques to save his son's life, but keeping it doesn't mean rescue. Tony pointed to Dr. Silas and his son, who were still a little unclear about the situation. It cleverly conceals its true purpose. Even Clark, who can hear abnormal heartbeats and use them to detect lies, didn't notice anything. It can be seen that a certain person's thick skin has already allowed him to lie without blushing. Then, do you know the origin of this Steppenwolf and Darkseid? Although he didn't know whether what Tony said was true or not, Clark knew that he was the younger brother of the Sun God. Moreover, in a sense, he is also Wang Hao's younger brother now, and the two can be regarded as colleagues. My hen. It was steel skin, but unexpectedly, Clark understood it. Advertisement. You can speak Cantonese? I know all the languages on Earth, as long as I have heard them. In this regard, Clark said that sprinkle water, Superman's brain is more powerful than the brain of any super genius. These words immediately made a guy who spent a whole year to learn Chinese look extremely ugly, as if he had eaten shit. He once thought it was the language of the devil. With his IQ of 290 and his super genius brain with 5 doctorates, it was so difficult to learn. What is not the language of the devil? Oh, it's the language of the gods, no more. Doctor, I think, you should leave this thing to me. Putting some unpleasant conversations behind him, Tony walked up to Dr. Silas, pointing to the mother box in his arms. The appearance of Steppenwolf is based on the mother box, and it can even be considered to be summoned by the mother box. Then it's definitely not appropriate or safe for Dr. Silas to continue holding it. And Dr. Silas looked at his colleague who was eager to beat him up before, and then at Superman. In comparison, he still believes in Superman more. After all, the son of Krypton has saved countless lives as a savior in the past year. And Superman obviously knows his colleague, so there's nothing wrong with handing it over to him. What are you going to do? That person doesn't look like he will let it go. The brutality and fierceness of the Steppenwolf put a lot of psychological pressure on Dr. Silas. But more importantly, his son was resurrected by the mother box, which meant that if that guy reappeared, Victor's life would also be affected. Don't worry, we have absolutely safe defense measures. By the way, if those people come, you know how to explain to them. The war is over, so it's time for the scrubbers to come. Advertisement, but Tony didn't want to deal with them. The reason why he travels with Wang Hao is to travel to different worlds. In addition to liking excitement and pursuing new things, another reason is to avoid the politics of Earth 1. Then in this world, he will naturally not participate in it. After saying this, he exchanged glances with Clark. Tony took off with the mother box in his arms, and the two left together. Would you like to sit down together? In midair, Tony, who was holding the mother box, greeted Clark. Ah, no need, I just had a fight with Zod a few days ago, it's better not to meet each other recently. There is no place on Earth where mother boxes can be researched and processed. So they can only take this thing to places outside the Earth. Kingdom of God. After being transformed by the Kryptonians, Groot, Magneto and others, the land of the Kingdom of God is now habitable. Although it still looks very desolate, it is much, much better than the transparent one before. As a member of the tour group and one of Wang Hao's faithful believers, Tony also got into the mix when the Kryptonians were rebuilding their homeland, and got himself a house and a laboratory. Then see you next time. After the words fell, Tony opened the passage to the Kingdom of God, and then disappeared into the air. And in the Atlantic Ocean at this moment, the cruise ship that sailed for a week finally came to a seemingly blank sea area. The blue sea and blue sky are cloudless, but with Wang Hao's light touch, the air in front of him trembles like ripples. Finally, a huge crowd appeared in front of everyone. Paradise Island. Chapter 213, The Paradise Island where the heroine didn't go out. Wow, what a beautiful island. Since the 19th century, the Earth has opened the era of large-scale industry, followed by various unlimited development of nature. In just 100 years, human beings have demanded more natural resources than the sum of the past few thousand years. Definitely, the environmental problems brought about by this kind of development are also very obvious. Once upon a time, London was the famous city of smog. That's not called that because of the weather. London is called the smog city because of the smog. In the past, due to industrial development in London, the entire Thames River was pitch black. All kinds of pneumoconiosis, tuberculosis, and water disease, basically as long as the diseases related to industrial pollution, were common in London at that time. From this we can see the extent to which human beings have destroyed nature. This kind of damage cannot be restored to its original appearance even after 100 years of governance. Even sailing on the sparsely populated sea. In fact, the beauties on the cruise ship can still see all kinds of garbage and water problems caused by pollution from time to time. Plastic bottles, massive microbial algal blooms, oil spills, etc. The Atlantic, halfway between America and Europe, suffered more than it could bear. However, after sailing for a week, they saw a Genichi-like clean, clear, and beautiful island that was incompatible with this industrial age for a long time. Paradise Island. It really fits the name. Natasha Romanoff stood at the bow of the boat, dressed in cool clothes, and even a little bit full of color. Anyway, there is only one male creature, Wang Hao, on the whole boat, and the others are all his starry sky. So it's considered restrained to dress like her. When it's a little too much, things like clothes are superfluous on this boat. Shall we go straight up like this? Advertisement. Looking back at someone hugging left and right, enjoying the service of the maid team, Natasha Romanoff asked. Find a port and stop the cruise ship. Anyway, there are no men on the island, you can all go up and play. The latter sentence was directed at the group of maids. They had been helping with things in the church, learning skills, and rarely had the opportunity to go out to play. Then shall we change clothes? It's Wanda who speaks. She's dressed in the same neighborhood style as usual, but she can't help but blend in with something like a pool party, which reveals something hidden. For example, the pair of cosmic truths on the chest. Although it is less than 20 years old, Natasha Romanoff is amazed by the scale. And although Wang Hao is not simply big as good, giant as everything truth party, for example, Channer is the most suitable for his preferences, but Channer is not a giant creature. But Wanda's pair, although large in scale, will never look bloated and cumbersome, but instead give people the idea of wanting to lament the beauty of motherhood. Just like that sentence. You wanted to scold her, but it was too big. No need, they are also very cool in clothes. You still said that this place has nothing to do with you, otherwise why would you know their dressing style? Just saw it. Naturally, Wang Hao couldn't say that he saw it in a movie. The female warriors of the Amazon were dressed in cooler clothes. But his words were also impeccable, and the suspicion in Natasha Romanoff's eyes faded again. But after going to the island, new problems appeared. Aren't you the race of all warriors? Why, there isn't even a sentry? Advertisement: such a large cruise ship enters the coastline, and Paradise Island is not a place full of mountains and mountains. In fact, the residential area is located on a plateau, and below the plateau is a plain and gentle mountain forest. It stands to reason that the people on the island should have seen them. There has been no outsiders visit for thousands of years, and it is normal that there is no sentry. Yes, thousands of years, after the incident of Zod's arrival a year ago, Wang Hao searched for the Lady Diana Prince. But unfortunately, no matter Bruce Wayne used his resources to search or Wang Hao directly asked Haoshin to invade the network database to search. None of them found the heroine who was supposed to appear. Most importantly, Wang Hao also found another document. It records the deeds of Colonel Steve Trevor, a war hero during World War II. Well, not only did he live well, he foiled the conspiracy of some evil people, he won the war, and he even published a book and a biography. Although not as legendary and famous as the other Steve, this Steve is not the sacrificed hero in the movie. Therefore, after synthesizing these new information, Wang Bao came to a conclusion. That is, a certain heroine in this world never came out of Paradise Island at all. This is not impossible. After all, in the world of Flashpoint, Diana not only did not come out, but also fought with Atlantis. The result of the fight between the two hidden world forces was that the whole of Europe was directly submerged by Atlantis. It was not Thomas Wayne who died in that world, but the young Bruce. The Joker was none other than Martha, who saw her son die and then went crazy. Including Clark, he was imprisoned in the laboratory since he was a child, skinny. So everything is possible in the multi-universe, and Wang Hao will not be overly surprised by any possible situation. Chapter 214. Darkseid is not strong enough. Strange, I have come here, but I haven't seen anyone yet. If no one was seen at the port, it can be understood that there have been no outsiders for thousands of years, so Paradise Island did not take precautions. Then Wang Hao and others have almost reached the small town of Paradise Island. Not far away is their unique building. However, they still did not see the Amazons on Paradise Island. This is very strange. Paradise Island may seem small, but it actually covers a large area, so there are many more Amazon female warriors on the island than imagined. So they have all come here, but they haven't seen those heroic Amazon female warriors, so it can't be that they came to the wrong place, right? Let me see. Wang Hao turned his head and looked around, scanning his eyes, and the situation on the entire island fell into his eyes. So he quickly saw the assembled female warriors in a building on the plain at the edge of the island. Is this a drill? Seeing the Amazon warriors fully armed, 170 armored soldiers gathered together with their bows and arrows wound, Wang Hao was a little curious. The Starry Sky tour group changed direction again. Everyone heard that there was a good show to watch, and they lost all interest in seeing the scenery, and walked quickly one by one. But before they got to the place, they saw a Tongtian white passage rushing up into the sky, and then crashing down. Huh? This scene. Steppenwolf? Seeing this scene, Wang Hao immediately thought of a similar scene in the movie, greeted everyone, and walked forward in 2 steps. Boom! There was a sudden explosion in the ancient stone building, and 2 figures flew out one after the other. Wang Hao's eyes are sharp and he can see clearly. Flying behind is a delicate and beautiful girl. Definitely, she is a girl, but it is because of the childishness on her face, that kind of innocence, which are unique to girls. Advertisement, but her body has matured, especially her pair of amazingly long and powerful legs. Beej. Not only does it look good, but it is also powerful when kicking people. Because the person in front, that gray and ugly guy, was kicked out by the girl. It turns out that you are a descendant of a god, but there are so many ancient gods who died at my hands, and you are no exception. The figure tumbled a few times in the air and landed on the ground. Before the fight started, it was just an arrogant and unrestrained mouth cannon. Whether there will be an exception, you have to fight to know. The clear and pleasant voice cleansed the entire battlefield, only to hear the young girl scream, kicking her 2 powerful long legs and rushing forward. The long sword in his hand stabs at the enemy in front of him, aiming at the throat. You will not be an exception, Steppenwolf sneered and swung his long sword. Well, the axe broke. The injury will heal after a while, but the axe is broken and there is no other way, so I had to change it to a sword. Clang. The most advanced technological creation on Apocalypse, and the sword made by Vulcan. One is the new god on Apocalypse, and the other is the descendant of the ancient god Zeus. Once 2-level universe powerhouses come into contact, the power of the collision spreads to the surroundings. Get out of the way. Among the female Amazon warriors around, one was the most graceful, the most outstanding, and she was almost as beautiful as the girl who was fighting. This is a battle between gods. Although the Amazon warriors are all extraordinary, and it is not a problem to be against tigers and leopards, but this level of battle is not what they should participate in. But looking at her daughter who was wielding the Vulcan sword to fight the Steppenwolf, Hippolyta not only felt a little worried. The Steppenwolf was expelled by Zeus, the rest of the gods, the Green Lantern Corps and Atlantis. Even if Diana has been blessed by the gods and possesses the artifact bestowed by Zeus, it is still not easy to defeat such a powerful enemy. Advertisement, Queen. Suddenly, a voice distracted Hippolyta from her worries. What happened? Looking at her younger sister Antiope beside her, Hippolyta followed her gaze and looked behind her. Hi. The weather is fine. Undisguised surprise was written on Hippolyta's face. Omega effect? Where did the man come from? But Steppenwolf, why is the strength of the duplication so weak? If the strength of a duplication is only like this, then the main body is not much stronger. Waving at the queen who was looking over, Wang Hao continued to look at Diana in the field. Darkseid is Steppenwolf's nephew. That thing is useless to Superman, let alone Wang Hao. If staring doesn't work, he can only fight hand to hand. In that case, Darkseid would be even more free. But the strength of the Steppenwolf is no more than that. Even if it is the main body, it will not be too strong, so how strong can Darkhead be? And because the strong are respected on Apocalypse, according to tradition, Steppenwolf cannot defeat Darkseid by himself, so he becomes his most loyal pony. First, the Steppenwolf, which retreated thousands of years ago, made a comeback, and then a man appeared on Paradise Island, which had been isolated from the world for thousands of years. Darkseid succeeded in usurping the throne while his father, Yuga Khan, ran to see the Wall of Origin and was stuck on it. How did the world suddenly become like this? A trace of disappointment appeared on Wang Hao's face. Hey, I remembered, Uncle Da was beaten by the Doomsday and left the Apocalypse Star and ran away. In the end, he had to ask Zhenlian for help to destroy the Doomsday again. Oh, what a miscalculation. What's going on today? Apart from Diana, he couldn't think of anyone else who could have such skill and strength of an Amazon female warrior. Chapter 215 Grab the neck of your destiny. Wang Hao never felt like a fighting maniac. But the fierce and passionate battle sounds like a feeling of blood boiling. It's just that the template Wang Hao opened himself as the invincible style, so he feels the same as Saitama now. Invincible, really lonely as snow, or as Dubuchu said. The long sword is empty, and the heroes are tied, don't you show it? The sword of labor and capital is so sharp, but you say you don't want to fight anymore, and raise your hands in surrender, how sad. So all along, Wang Hao also wanted to find an opponent of similar strength for himself to fight against. It's good to feel the passion, surging battle, but unfortunately, there is no opponent. Even Emperor Thanos, holding 3 infinite gems in his hand, still couldn't last 2 rounds. Superman can't even beat Emperor Thanos, and Emperor Thanos can survive the supernova explosion for a while, just the current Clark, go and even the scum is gone. Not to mention that Emperor Thanos is an all-round boss who is proficient in magic, occult techniques, curses and various technologies. As we all know, Superman's magic resistance is negative, not without it, but negative. The Emperor Thanos is not a good thing for Wang Hao, so the Lord naturally set his sights on another villain he is more familiar with and optimistic about. Darkseid. And Darkseid is indeed stronger than Thanos. In the joint publication of Marvel and DC, he came to the DC universe, which caused Thanos, whose infinite gems failed due to different universe laws, to be defeated by Darkseid. So Darkseid seems to be qualified to be Wang Hao's opponent. But who would have imagined, when Wang Hao saw Steppenwolf's performance, a question mark was immediately placed in his mind. Advertisement: Darkseid's strength comes from the Omega effect, but it's definitely useless to me. The mode of action of the Omega effect, or the greatest damage, comes from erasing the existence of the opponent, and putting the opponent into endless reincarnation to wear them out. Neither of these works for Wang Hao. The existence of a cosmic god like Wang Hao is not a matter of a single universe. In other words, to erase his existence, Darkseid must simultaneously erase Wang Hao's existence in the 600th world and the existence in the Marvel world. But this is obviously impossible. Not even God, the creator of the DC universe, can do this. So the first point is invalid at all, and the second point is to put the opponent into reincarnation, such as what Darkseid did to Bruce Wayne. Let him spend himself in endless tragedy, but Wang Hao controls reincarnation. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west, day after day, originally as the reincarnation of the world's most primitive state. Therefore, the second ultimate move of the Omega effect is just a trick for Wang Hao. If Darkseid can't do it, then there is only Anti-Prison. Several god-level villains in the DC universe: Darkseid, Anti-Monitor, Black Death and the latest Barbados. Among them, in terms of individual strength alone, the strongest is undoubtedly the Anti-Monitor. The anti-surveillance power who mastered the anti-life equation was so strong that Darkseid had to cooperate with Zhenlian to deal with him together. Anti-Supervisor, that Mobius guy, don't know where he is now. Unlike Darkseid, who has been staying on Apocalypse, the location of Anti-Monitor Mobius is not clear. If he really shows up with great fanfare one day, it means that he is ready for a full-scale war. Ask for flowers, advertisement. Even then, he has already begun to invade the positive material universe. It's difficult. He had heard about the power of Kryptonians for a long time. Although he had indeed broken through some kryptonites in the universe, this was the first time he had encountered such a powerful Kryptonian as Clark. Following the Queen's gaze and surrounding him, the Amazon warriors suddenly put away all their guard and hostility, allowing him to walk towards the center of the battle between Diana and Steppenwolf. What? Who can play with the mighty and great Steppenwolf in the palm of his hand? The arms intersected, and the 2 silver arm guards collided together, bursting out with powerful force. The collision of the spear and the shield, shockwaves spread to the surroundings. The ground has been destroyed, and the hard rock cannot bear the battle between the 2 gods. But I am Steppenwolf, the supreme military officer of Apocalypse, the conqueror of the endless universe. And all of this happened unnoticed, which frightened him and made him inexplicably terrified. But unexpectedly, there is such a fearsome warrior on the small earth. Who? Looking at the girl in front of him who was still imposing, Steppenwolf showed surprise. Holding a big sword, full of ambition, I once again felt the blood of fighting. Suddenly being picked up, fate was caught by the back of the neck. Steppenwolf struggled in vain like a little piggy about to be sent to the chopping board. Even if she was born in the fighting nation Amazon, a descendant of the ancient gods. This is Diana's strongest defense, but also her strongest attack. Wang Hao sighed softly, then walked straight forward. Facing such a terrifying attack wave, Steppenwolf swung the long sword in his hand so fast that it formed a barrier. Chapter 216. Wonder Woman's weakness. Who is it? The charming voice came from the girl's mouth. The sudden overpowering of her fierce opponent is not something the warlike Amazon would like to see. Especially for Diana. In the past, she was the only one on Paradise Island. She is too strong, and she has shown an extraordinary side since she was young. Even the strongest Amazon warrior on Paradise Island does not have her physical fitness and strength. And in so many years of getting along, Diana has gradually become fearless from the beginning when she was young and fearless. Like Clark said to Darkseid, 373. I have to be careful all the time to prevent my fists and the soles of my feet from tearing the ground and hurting others. Don't even dare to breathe aloud. And Diana is not inferior to Clark's powerhouse, and even in Junglian, she is the one who ranks first in terms of comprehensive strength and heart quality. Clark is a superhero, but not a qualified fighter. Definitely, because of this and because of his selfless heart, he can be the greatest Superman. But Diana, whose strength is almost the same as his, is more irritable and impulsive, and she has to restrain her hands and feet at such moments. When she was young, she could train with the soldiers, but after that, she could only watch silently. Everyone trains. This kind of mood made her very uncomfortable. Therefore, when such a powerful opponent as Steppenwolf appeared, Diana's excitement were beyond words. And when Wang Hao reached out to capture Steppenwolf and made her lose such an opponent, what filled her heart was not gratitude, but anger. Who are you? Put him down, he is my opponent. I don't. Advertisement looking at Diana who was glaring at him with wide eyes, Wang Hao made a face at her. It's still fun to tease little girls or something. Especially the kind of ignorant, innocent girl. Like Natasha Romanoff, they have all become old drivers and the quail appearance is all fake. What is the greatest pleasure of a man? Advise you to follow the good, and pull Liang's family into the water. But Diana's innocence also made her respond in the simplest and rudest way. After a coquettish shout, the Fenquan was directly thrown towards Wang Hao's face, and at the same time, that proud long leg kicked the Steppenwolf who was being held by Wang Hao neatly. Snapped. Stretching out his empty arm, blocking Diana's fist, Wang Hao had a smile on his face, and he didn't need any exaggerated operations, just pure physical strength, and fought Diana there. Catch the bewildered and panicked Steppenwolf with one hand, and the powerful Wonder Woman with the other. In the eyes of the Amazon fighters, Wang Hao's operation was simply astonishing. Needless to say, Diana's strength, they have seen big ones since they were young. 5,000 years ago, I watched Diana grow up from such a small one, little by little, to become a monster that all of them might not be able to defeat together. The Steppenwolf is even more of a monster among monsters. It is a terrifying existence that has defeated all the forces on the earth collectively for 5,000 years, and finally had to abandon their previous suspicions and unite to fight against the enemy. But now Wang Hao is like catching a chicken, grabbing the Steppenwolf they fear like a tiger with one hand. And in their eyes, Diana, who was extremely powerful, could firmly block that ferocious attack with only one hand. Even these fighters don't see it clearly, after all, they're just fighters and have no access to real high-end combat power. Advertisement Queen Hippolyta was different, she sees things better than others. Just because she is the queen of the Amazons, she is a demigod, she has seen the ancient gods with her own eyes, and she has personally participated in the ancient god battles. Because of this, and because she has seen the power of those gods, she knows better. Even the majestic Zeus, who commanded lightning and thunder and led countless heroes to defeat the Steppenwolf's first invasion, was far inferior to Wang Hao. For a moment, Hippolyta's beautiful eyes sparkled with splendor. It seems that I can't believe that there are such powerful heroes in this world. And over there, the battle with Diana has reached a fever pitch. In other words, after being unable to attack for a long time, Diana faced Wang Hao's leisurely walk in the courtyard. She was as indifferent as water, and was forced to use a unique move. She pushed away far away, her eyes were extremely sharp, and her eyes were full of fighting spirit when she looked at Wang Hao. Then, she raised her hands high, and her two arm guards formed a cross in front of her chest, about to touch 0.7 together. Clang. With the arm guards crossed, the impact and destructive power are unparalleled. A dazzling shockwave roared straight towards Wang Hao, destroying everything along the way. What was left on the plain was a deep ravine like a canyon. I remember that there is a trick to this move. Wang Hao's words suddenly appeared in Diana's ears, and while her expression was shocked, she was also surprised to find out. All the turmoil in front of her has completely disappeared, and her powerful arms crossed together have been grasped by both hands. Chapter 217. The Weak Wonder Woman. You, how come? Both arms were grabbed, and the strong fluctuations erupting from the two arm guards continued, but they were all firmly blocked by this strong and stalwart body. Not only that, Diana was surprised to find that her arms were being separated. Her strongest blow was being cracked. What? A weak groan suddenly appeared in Wang Hao's ears. Seeing Diana, who was suddenly weak as weak as a real girl next door, Wang Hao couldn't help but widen his eyes. It's just that what surprised him wasn't Diana's posture at the moment, but an ultimate invincible old pervert. Zeus, you were cruel enough. Separate Diana's crossed arms on her chest, and the pair of unparalleled arm guards stopped the burst of energy. But what dissipated together was not just this powerful impact, but also the power in Diana's body. Yes, Wonder Woman's strongest weapon is actually her weakness. When she crossed her arms and the two arm guards exploded with infinite power, if someone forcibly separated her arms, then her divine power will be completely lost, and she will become a weak existence like an ordinary human girl. This setting is so weird that Wang Hao wondered if it still existed when he came to this world. But after he tried it, the confirmed result also clearly told him that this thing is real, this is not a dream. How should I put it? I'm afraid you haven't thought of it yourself. Looking at Diana, who was already weak, there was obvious anger in those eyes full of confusion, unknown and fear. Advertisement, but now it seems that there is no heroism and unyielding fighting spirit. Instead, there is a kind of shame and anger of a little girl being bullied. Wait, you don't think I did it, do you? You can't say that. I broke your hands, but I didn't do your magic disappear. Diana's power was given by the gods. It can also be said that the ancient gods gave part of their power to Diana in order to pass on their power, and so that the earth would not lose its protector, and let her continue to protect the world with the blessings of the gods. That being the case, it must be the ancient gods who left behind Diana's divine power. And Wang Hao can probably guess who did this trick. Odin, Zeus, as god kings, can't you be more generous? You are too small-minded. Yes, being able to play tricks on the power of such a powerful demigod warrior as Diana, leaving a life gate that can defeat her. It is equivalent to the fact that there is no Zochin in the 13th Taibao horizontal training golden bell cover, so there is also a cover door under the armpit or between the legs. And the reason why they left behind this cover is nothing more than because they, as god kings, want to control the gods under them and prevent them from betraying themselves and becoming enemies with themselves. For example, Odin casts magic on Thor's hammer, and the hammer obeys Odin first, and Thor second. And this is what Zeus left for Diana. Father who cheated on my daughter, Zeus, I really have you. Athena, Artemis, Diana, and Zeus pitted their daughters one after another. It should be said that it is you, the number one pervert in ancient mythology. Lifting Diana up from the ground, Wang Hao was not even interested in paying attention to the Steppenwolf on the ground who was still terrified but unable to move. He's weird now. Why does Diana seem to have no obvious muscle lines? On the contrary, she is a little slender, which is different from other Amazon warriors, but she has such great strength. Advertisement. Well, girls' bodies are really mysterious. Is there anything special about her body? Are you a god? He stared at himself up and down, not to mention, and made various comments from time to time. More importantly, she actually felt a very familiar smell from Wang Hao. But after breaking away from the battle and recovering from that passionate emotion, Diana became that innocent girl again. I am the sun god, and Helios is a projection of me. Diana asked tentatively. Divinity from the ancient gods. Divinity. But for Diana, the daughter of Zeus and sister of Athena and Artemis, Helios was the sun god she knew. However, in the Roman era, this position was replaced by Apollo, or in other words, Apollo, the original god of light and art, and Helios, the sun god, merged into one. Besides, the other girls also smelled of sweat when they sweated. Why did Diana not see any sweat after fighting fiercely for so long, and her body still smelled delicious? Ah, a girl's body is really a treasure house, containing endless secrets. In Diana's eyes, the man who separated her most powerful arms suddenly became very strange. Among the 7 wonders of the world, the man depicted by the Colossus of the sun god Helios, is the sun god in the Olympian pantheon. And those Amazon warriors who saw her suddenly weakened had planned to come to help her, but they also stopped after hearing this sentence. And in this state, when she saw Wang Hao who was supporting her, breathing his breath, she felt a very comfortable and warm feeling. Chapter 218. You are not your mother's birth. You are really the sun god? But didn't all the ancient gods leave this world? In the palace of Paradise Island, Wang Hao sits on a high seat. Sitting in his arms, Diana didn't look shy, or maybe she didn't quite understand what shyness meant. In the bright and spacious hall, except for Queen Hippolyta, there was no one else. General Antiope took Natasha Romanoff and others on a tour of Paradise Island. As for Steppenwolf, he became a captive and was firmly tied to the stone pillar by the mantra lasso, unable to break free at all. My origin is not as simple as the ancient gods. Didn't I say that Helios can only be regarded as a duplication of my projection? It seems that because of Wang Hao's divinity and the divine power from the sun god, Diana and Wang Hao got closer faster than ordinary people. Queen Hippolyta below them was still hesitant looking at Wang Hao's face, but Diana already regarded him as her big brother. Definitely, in fact, Helios is of the same generation as Zeus in terms of seniority, so it should be her uncle. But thinking of this, a strange smile suddenly appeared on Wang Hao's face, and he said to Diana who was sitting in his arms. Do you know where you came from, origin? Am I not an Amazon warrior? Diana's innocent expression does not seem to be fake, or she never thought that her mother would deceive her. Ordinary Amazon warriors don't have your strength, even the queen. Wang Hao looked down at the embarrassed Hippolyta. The expression on that beautiful face suddenly changed, but as a warrior, she obviously couldn't lie like Natasha Romanoff without blushing. Yeah, I also think I'm amazing, but what's the difference? Advertisement. Because I have never left Paradise Island, I have never seen Ares, and I have never experienced all kinds of human world. Although Diana is smart, her mind is still like that of a little girl. The degree of deception is even worse than that of Janata. Little Phoenix. Little Phoenix is not easy to deceive, it can even be said that no one in the universe can deceive her. She is originally a collection of spiritual powers of all living beings, and is essentially the most powerful spiritual ability user in the entire universe. Mind reading is an instinct for her, an instinct that no one can resist. As for Janata, at least she got a part of the memory inheritance of Galactus, and she has the knowledge and wisdom of countless civilizations in her mind. So Diana is the one who looks cute, but is actually really cute and easy to deceive. So much so that she never doubted what Hippolyta said to her, and really thought that she was born by Hippolyta. You are not an Amazon warrior, you are a god. Fingers fiddled with Diana's hair, in fact, they fiddled with the unique divine power in her body. Strength, speed, beauty, wisdom, courage, and divine power. You are the daughter of Zeus. Your body is made of divine soil mixed with Zeus' blood, but your essence as a god is jointly bestowed by those main gods. This time, Diana's innocent and beautiful face could no longer be normal. The small mouth was opened wide, and a pair of big and shining eyes stared straight. The whole person was in a state of extreme health and desolation. Then she couldn't help but glance back at her mother Hippolyta, who gave her a helpless smile. Well, she wasn't actually Diana's biological mother. At most, it's just a mother. Diana's body was pinched out of some kind of divine soil. Yes, it was pinched like a female snail pinching a villain. Advertisement: she did not participate in Hippolyta, but Zeus used his own blood to give Diana life. That's why Diana is said to be the daughter of Zeus. But it is not enough to say that Hippolyta is the woman of Zeus. Because from the beginning to the end, the two have no intersection at all. Maybe Zeus had thoughts about Her Majesty the Queen, but Hippolyta believed in Artemis. And Artemis is one of the 3 famous virgin goddesses on the holy mountain of Olympus. For his followers, if Zeus really dared to do anything casually, then the goddess of hunting couldn't guarantee whether her arrows would hit Zeus' eyes. For Zeus, who is habitually cheating on his daughter, apart from Athena, her good sister Artemis is also not easy to mess with. No way, unlike Odin's majestic image, Zeus's reputation has long been rotten. Good money. It is not enough to have 7 wives, and go out all day to flirt, and in a strange way. I like the daughter of a herdsman, and then she directly turned into a cow and caused harm to others. Is that Hera jealous? Which woman can stand this kind of man? Teddy Tay may not be human, but Zeus is a real dog. In this case, if Zeus had laid hands on Hippolyta, would it still need to be pinched with clay? Diana must have been born of Hippolyta, but now, have you ever seen a baby born in Jung or Bajing grow up for thousands of years? Nezha fell to the ground in 3 years, and it took Diana thousands of years to turn from a little girl into a young girl. Chapter 219, marking the Apocalypse Star. How does it feel to raise a daughter out of marriage? After learning that she was not born by her own mother, Diana was in a bad mood. A man ran away from Wang Hao's arms with his mouth pouted, thinking about the ultimate question of life. Who am I? Where am I from? Where am I going? This question will definitely not be able to be thought out for a while, and she will not come out until the night when she is hit by another ultimate question. What to eat tonight? So only Wang Hao and the queen were left in the big hall. And looking at this Amazon queen, who is not inferior to her own daughter in style, although the temperament between her eyebrows makes her look like a queen, like a mother. But both of them knew that she was actually unmarried like Diana. So here comes the question, how does a Virgo, a chick, become a mother? It still counts for thousands of years. Curiosity. It's no wonder Wang Hao asks such a personal question, he is really curious. Is it possible to have something like motherhood without that? Diana is very sensible and intelligent. The children of mortals are ignorant and noisy, so they will trouble their parents, but Diana is the son of Zeus, and her sister is Athena. Wang Hao looked suddenly enlightened. Athena was fully armed when she was born, and she stabbed her father with a spear, which is a model she was born with. And Diana's wisdom is bestowed by Athena, so being well-behaved and sensible is the label of little Diana. And since she is well-behaved and sensible, apart from taking care of food and drink, telling stories at night, and practicing fighting skills during the day, it seems that she really doesn't need to worry about anything. Advertisement, by the way, I still don't know what the sun god is doing on Paradise Island. Are the gods planning to return? Zeus and the others did not die, but went to a different space similar to the god realm. Similar to the situation at Marvel, the gods are far away from the world. It's just that Thor came to the earth over there, and here the gods simply left a spokesperson, Diana. Their business has nothing to do with me, I just want to take a look. Wang Hao shook his head, he really just wanted to see what Paradise Island looks like, and meet Diana by the way. Then how does His Majesty the Sun God plan to deal with the Steppenwolf? When it comes to this matter, Hippolyta's complexion is obviously much heavier. The Steppenwolf is not scary, after all, it is just a projection duplication, they can't beat Zeus and the others in a single duel, otherwise they won't be driven away. The key is the power behind him, Apocalypse Star. And the endless army of demons. The Apocalypse Star has fought in the universe for countless years, and I don't know how many planets it has destroyed, I don't know how many parallel universes it has conquered. And the intelligent life on every planet has been transformed into demon-like by using Apocalypse Star technology. So the biggest problem with Apocalypse has always been the demon-like army. The performance in the movie is actually relatively one-sided. After the fight, Steppenwolf pretends to single out Junglian. But in fact, Steppenwolf didn't need to make a move at all, the endless demon-like army was enough to consume Clark to death in a sea of insects tactics. Although the original strength of the class, BIDF, demons is not strong, Bruce can fight several at a time without using equipment, but the problem is that there are too many of them. Billions of demon-like troops are swarming. How many can Superman kill? Advertisement: he is not Wang Hao, his energy is almost endless, he can fight, but there is always consumption. Wang Hao said so without thinking. On the contrary, Steppenwolf is a coordinate here, a coordinate where a demon-like army can march over at any time. Hippolyta's calm face finally showed a little surprise and doubt. Earth can hold them back for a while, but it won't be long before they come back again. Although the Steppenwolves are now their captives, it doesn't mean they have won. Your Majesty, I'm afraid we won't be able to kill him. He is a regenerative healing factor. If we could kill him, we wouldn't have allowed him to escape thousands of years ago. Besides, even if we killed him, we still have to face the Apocalypse Star. Invasion problem. Kill. Secondly, on the Apocalypse Star, although Steppenwolf is the commander-in-chief of the demon-like army, he can't even be called the second in command, and his status is only ranked third on the Apocalypse Star. Then mark the Apocalypse Star and conquer the Apocalypse Star. So they couldn't kill Steppenwolf at all. The Apocalypse Star has fought in the universe for so many years and failed, but in the end, they were the ones who won. And in that place where strength is paramount and cruelty is incomparable, many people are staring at the command position of Steppenwolf's legion. The Steppenwolf they caught was just a projection duplication, and his body is staying on Apocalypse Star. Kill it. Because of this, Hippolyta, who fought the Steppenwolf thousands of years ago, knew it very well. At most, it is equivalent to popping a false bubble. So it is exactly that sentence: if one of me dies, there will still be tens of thousands of me. However, facing the Queen's doubts, Wang Hao just walked up to her with a smile, looking at this deliberately mature and elegant face. Chapter 220. You are not worthy to fight with me. Hit the Apocalypse Star. Not interrogative sentences, but exclamatory sentences. Hippolyta, who said this, was even more surprised than before, so much so that she didn't even realize that Wang Hao had approached her. That's right, Apocalypse is not an impenetrable fortress. At best, it can only be regarded as a military base. Wang Hao had a definite expression. In the comics, Apocalypse was not captured twice. It is also common to be broken through by a single body. After all, billions of demons sound powerful, but that is for ordinary people. But for the powerful ones who can make single-body breakthroughs, the number is meaningless to some extent. Like Doomsday. Because it was inexplicably teleported to the Apocalypse Star, this pure war machine, a tool of destruction, knocked Shockside away from the Apocalypse Star after a chaotic battle. Who is this to reason with? Definitely, as a force, Apocalypse cannot be eliminated by defeating Darkseid. Darkseid is just the boss of this faction. If he is gone, then change to a boss. What's more, it's not like he doesn't have a younger brother. Although there are not as many monsters, but his little brother is of high quality. Wang Hao had his own considerations, but Hippolyta still found it very absurd after listening to it, even a kind of absurdity from the Arabian Nights. That is the Apocalypse Star, the most terrifying force in the universe. Advertisement destroyed countless planets and conquered the Apocalypse Stars of countless parallel universes. If it is said that Thanos' Legion crosses the planet universe, it is already very powerful to be called the Overlord of the universe. Just imagine, every Thanos in the universe is just a projection duplication of a strong big shot, and their bodies are in this place called the Apocalypse Star. You can't take Diana, Hippolyta said suddenly. She didn't know how powerful Wang Hao was, but she absolutely wouldn't allow Diana to run into such a dragon's den as Apocalypse. It is an honor for a soldier to die on the battlefield, but it is a shame to run to the opposite side and give Fang Quan his head. His gaze stayed on Hippolyta's face for a while, and Wang Hao suddenly laughed. As a mother, she is still very qualified, but she has forgotten that some things are not up to her to decide. Whether she wants to go or not depends on her. I won't force her, but I won't stop her either. If you're worried, then come with me when the time comes. After finishing speaking, Wang Hao did not continue to stay beside this beautiful queen, but went straight to the outside. Steppenwolf is tied to a post outside the hall, corrupted ancient god. Seeing Wang Hao walking out of the palace, the Steppenwolf, whose divine power was bound, showed disdain, but before he could continue to speak harshly, Wang Hao's hand was already on his head. Shush, let me see. Where is the Apocalypse Star? Apocalypse, according to the setting, is a planet in the fourth dimension between reality and fantasy. This is why Steppenwolf and Darkseid can stay on the Apocalypse Star, but the projection duplication is all over the universe. Because they are not in a certain universe in the first place. The big hand pressed down, the soul was shattered, the heart was deprived, and Steppenwolf's head directly turned into a light, and then the huge information in it was read by Wang Hao. Advertisement, so it's here. The way to the Apocalypse Star was found by Wang Hao, and at the same time, when the duplication disappeared, the Steppenwolf body on the Apocalypse Star, a burly man in armor whose appearance was not much different from that of a human on Earth, was in the eyes. There was a hint of surprise. Rot. Sun God? Those ancient gods have such strength? The ugly image is just created according to the image of fear in people's hearts in different universes. The body of Steppenwolf does not look much different from humans and Kryptonians. In fact, except for Darkseid, who turned into a rock like Titan because of the Omega reaction, the members of the new Protoss are almost human in appearance. Do I have such strength? Maybe you can try it. Shocked, unbelievable. Steppenwolf's face became very exciting. He just received the information from the projection duplication, and then, that person came to the door? Seeing Wang Hao suddenly appearing in front of him, and the passage behind him, Steppenwolf suddenly chuckled. While putting away the astonishment and shock on his face, a strong fighting spirit and wantonness appeared on his face. A more majestic and more powerful battle axe than the one that Clark smashed appeared in his hand. Are you brave enough to challenge the authority of Apocalypse? It seems that another god is about to fall today. However, Wang Hao's expression is more relaxed. It can't be said to be wild, it can only be said to ignore. Challenge? You think too highly of yourself, Steppenwolf. You are not qualified to be my opponent, Zod. Following Wang Hao's low shout, a figure came out from the passage behind him. Wearing a special battle armor, with a firm face and extremely firm eyes, General Zod set foot on this land with steady steps. He is the supreme military commander of Apocalypse, and you are the military leader of the Celestials. This is an evenly matched and qualified battle. Chapter 221. This is contempt. The astonishment on Steppenwolf's face remained the same as before. He really didn't expect that Wang Hao didn't even plan to make a move by himself, but summoned a subordinate. Shocked, ashamed, and hideous, all kinds of expressions played out on Steppenwolf's face one by one. Who is he? The Steppenwolf who has conquered countless worlds and destroyed countless civilizations. His cruelty and terror, even the gods will tremble when they hear it. His strength and terror require the power of the entire world to contend with it. The ancient gods, the Green Lantern Corps guarding the galaxy, and the powerful super-ancient civilization. So many powerful beings joined together just to fend off one of his projection duplications, 910. However, now he is underestimated. No, it's not contempt, it's contempt, even more excessive contempt than contempt. Wang Hao didn't take him seriously at all, and even thought that he was not enough to be compared with himself. This kind of insult, this kind of shame, made the Steppenwolf's anger soar like a volcano erupting. You, damn it. Without too many words, without too many declarations, Steppenwolf picked up the battle axe, directly crossed the distance between time and space, and slashed at Zhu Hao. Zod, who slowly walked out of the passage, was silent. He is not a talkative person. As a professional soldier, his genes have been tuned to be the most suitable for all the characteristics of the Legion before he was born. Courageous, resolute, fearless, calm, advertisement. Zod has the qualities that all soldiers should have, and he does it better, and more outstandingly. Because of this, he became the military commander of Krypton and became General Zod. In the past years, he led the army of Krypton to conquer 28 galaxy civilizations, and spread the glory of Krypton to the entire universe. So much so that even the extraterritorial forces like Apocalypse have heard of it, and they all want to win the allegiance of Krypton. But Zod knows that the past Krypton has died. What still exists today is Wang Hao's celestial race. A brand new race, a brand new civilization, reborn from the ashes of Krypton and spread its wings to take off. It contains vigorous vitality and a new force with infinite potential. Rao created Krypton's glory in the past hundreds of thousands of years, and now, Wang Hao has created eternity for the celestial race for hundreds of millions of years in the future. If it is said that Zod still had hesitation at the beginning, he just surrendered to Wang Hao's strength and chose to surrender to the light guided by Wang Hao. Then after this year of metamorphosis in the kingdom of God, he has become extremely sure and firmly believes that Wang Hao is the true God who leads them. And all he has to do is to use all his strength to fight for Wang Hao and crush all enemies for him. Use this remnant of your own, the remnant of the old era of Krypton, to ignite the light for the future of the Celestials and humans. With a swaying figure, Zod suddenly appeared in front of Wang Hao, with a sword made of endless brilliance stretching across in his hand, firmly resisting the Steppenwolf's battle axe. Two powerful forces erupted, and the shockwave that spread instantly wiped everything around into dust. Those swarming demon-like and Apocalypse Star residents, those simple, ugly buildings, and battleships. Just the collision of two strong big shots directly turned into nothing. As I said, you are not qualified to fight with me, you may not even be able to defeat Zod. Seeing Zod, who was speechless and only spoke with a sword, stood in front of him, blocking all disobedience for his lord, the true God. Wang Hao still had a calm expression. Advertisement. After a year of growth and a year of precipitation, Zod has completed the most important metamorphosis of Kryptonians. Just like the Saiyans became Super Saiyans, the Kryptonians who absorbed sunlight and activated the potential of their cells also evolved into Supermans. And the speed at which Zod grows is even more unbelievable. If Clark's potential is huge and almost endless, then Zod's upper limit may not be able to surpass Clark, but his growth speed and adaptation speed are far more exaggerated than Clark. Born with a warrior bloodline, Zod is even better than Clark in terms of combat effectiveness alone. In 1 year, from being crushed by Clark with brute force, to Clark needing to use skill to suppress. Then to Clark barely tied, it has been 2 months since the last time Clark entered the kingdom of God and was accompanied by Della as a sparring partner. 2 months ago, Zod already possessed a strength comparable to Clark, but 2 months later, how is his performance? Except for Fiona, he should grow the fastest. Looking at Zod, who was swinging the divine sword in the sky at the speed of light, Wang Hao pondered. He rarely pays attention to Zod's changes. After all, he still can't do such a thing without paying attention to a big man. But looking at 5.4 now, among the group of Kryptonians, Fiona is undoubtedly the number one. After all, Wang Hao instills some private goods from time to time, which is not comparable to Zod absorbing some of his own sunshine. Then ranked second, it should be Zod. Clark this Superman? He can barely be the third. How does the sunlight absorbed on the earth compare with the sunlight emitted by his body in the kingdom of God? This is not a question of quantity, but a difference of quality. Just like the scene in front of you, with your physical body, you can accelerate to the speed of light without using a super ability like the Speed Force, and then rush out. This time, not to mention the Earth, the entire solar system will be smashed to pieces. Chapter 222. Be the one with the biggest fist. The greater the speed, the greater the quality. This is a law of physics, the core idea of special relativity. Speedsters like the Flash can get rid of this by relying on the super speed force. The Speed Force took them out of the physical world, in fact in another dimension. But Zod and Superman, and even Wonder Woman Diana and others are different. Their super speed is achieved by relying on their own powerful bodies. Therefore, the faster their speed, the greater the power of the attack. And when Zod sent out an attack at nearly the speed of light, the strength of this punch could be described as earth-shattering. The power of a nuclear explosion is not enough to describe this blow. Someone once calculated that a 50-gram bullet hitting the Earth at sub-light speed is already as powerful as a mushroom bomb. And Zod's mass is more than 50 grams. This blow, if the person who suffered the blow was Steppenwolf, and the Earth that suffered was the Apocalypse Star, if it was replaced by other places, it would have been crushed into nothingness. But even if it was 18, the Steppenwolf was instantly knocked down, and fell deep into the formation like the Apocalypse Star. And Zod regained his energy and looked around. The army of demons was still pouring in constantly. And those who were captured, or the original powerhouses of Apocalypse Star, looked at Zod with a trace of awe. Stars can be shattered with one blow. This kind of power is not seen everywhere. If there really was such a powerful ethnic group, the balance of the universe would have been broken long ago. This is why the Kryptonians are so powerful, but they will eventually reach the stage of self-exile and self-destruction. This is the fate that the universe has set for them. Even Krypton, the Red Sun, and the kryptonite densely covered under the surface of Krypton, are their natural nemesis. Advertisement. It can be said that it is the entire universe that makes Krypton have to be destroyed, because if they are not destroyed, other civilizations in the universe will be destroyed. Strong is rare, powerful is rare, this is theorem. There is no long-lasting civilization that can accommodate too many strong people and very few weak people. Not even the entire universe. So when these rebellious, ambitious, and always full of aggressive people saw Zod smashing the Steppenwolf into the center of the Earth with one blow, they will understand that this is a strong man worthy of their respect. The Apocalypse Star has only one rule, not to submit to Darkseid, but to submit to the strong. Here, strong is everything. Just before, Darkseid was the most powerful existence. So it's still easy to conquer here, but I don't know where Uncle Tiger Daw of the Serious Crime Team is. Seeing the dodge and fear in those people's eyes, Wong Hao had a look of complete control. Darkseid is not the eternal ruler. Before him, Yuga Khan, if he was not stuck by the wall, how could Uncle Yin dare to rebel? Even if he mastered the Omega reaction, he would turn around and run away when Yuga Khan came out. In other words, that is Wong Hao's existence that is really worth dealing with and shooting. Definitely, he is stuck on the wall, and Wong Hao has no interest in dragging him down. Although he knows exactly what the so-called wall is, what is the secret of the wall of origin that Yuga Khan explored. But he's not interested in telling him. After Darkseid, the official star also changed the ruler. Lyca Sluthor was an Apocalypse Star Master, as was Darkseid's daughter Grail. To put it bluntly, it is up to whoever has the biggest fist here, but for now, the one with the biggest fist must not only defeat Darkseid, but also the entire Apocalypse Star. Advertisement, forget it, come on, save that guy from being an outsider, acting like he sees through everything. The endless army of demons, countless destroyed worlds, warriors of destroyed civilizations, and even Kryptonians from other parallel universes among them. With so many people, Wong Hao is too lazy to solve it by himself. Let the soldiers clear up the matter of the soldiers. The passage behind him continued to open, and following Wong Hao's words, figures came out one by one. Clark in the Superman battlesuit, Hawkeye and Green Arrow with their new best friends. Quicksilver from Canterlot and Barry Uren with him. Flip-Flop's God of War Thor. Tony 537, who has replenished the energy core, and Bruce, who has replaced a set of special combat armor. Definitely, Wong Hao's Templar. On Paradise Island, Wong Hao's projection screen introduced the Apocalypse Star to Diana and a group of Amazon warriors. So, are you coming? The passageway opened, and Wong Hao's eyes fell on Diana, then over her shoulders, and landed on the Queen's delicate face. The best way to eliminate fear is to face it bravely. As the biggest fear spreader in the universe, Apocalypse Star, should we continue to wait and wait for the invasion in fear? Or do you go all out, break into the lair, and rewrite everything? Auntie, I leave it to you. On Apocalypse, Wong Hao looked at his wife before disappearing, and the girl who received the signal nodded, and the bright moonlight rose, enveloping all the summoned warriors. Don't worry, their souls have been locked by me, and the decedent will be resurrected in the kingdom of God. So, Darkseid, Chapter 223. Look at my hand covering the sky. Countless passages opened, and worlds and galaxies appeared on the other side. With the wave of Wong Hao's arm, galaxies as huge as the Milky Way shine brightly for him. Sword. Simple and easy to use, then use it all the time. Wong Hao believed in pragmatism, so a holy sword pierced the sky and pierced into the depths of Apocalypse. Humph. Under the endless brilliance of the holy sword, someone sitting in the Apocalypse Star finally couldn't sit still. From the moment Wong Hao appeared on the planet Apocalypse, he knew the coming of a powerful god. Compared with the Steppenwolf, he knew better that he could break in here without making a sound, and the strength of the visitor might exceed his expectations. Therefore, he chose to wait and see what happened, and chose to sit and watch the Steppenwolves fight ahead. But he didn't expect that the visitor was neither good nor false, but he was so unkind. With the opening of the channel, as countless warriors poured into the Apocalypse Star, Darkseid, the most brutal and terrifying existence on the Apocalypse Star, also understood. Wang Hao is not here to challenge, he is here to conquer. On the plateau, in front of the throne, the tall gray figure carried his hands on his back, and with a cold snort, 2 red rays shot out from his eyes, piercing the sky. Tony, who was in the form of a fortress, had rooted his feet, and large and thick gun barrels protruded from his body, and various weapons were placed under his feet. What sprayed all over the sky was his passion, and what exploded in the sky was an endless army of love demons. The violent shockwave directly knocked the gold and red war fortress to the ground. What followed was that terrifying energy tide and wave after wave of spatial aftershocks. Wofford, what's going on? Tony looked into the sky, and a big explosion of unprecedented scale appeared in the midair. Most importantly, he witnessed another holy sword that he was very familiar with falling, and on the plateau in the distance, too strange, the red rays in the air constantly changing directions rushed away. Advertisement teacher Tony finally knew how the previous Big Bang was produced. What surprised him was that the powerful holy sword was actually intercepted. That holy sword, which is enough to cut an interstellar mothership in half, cut off mountains and rivers, and cut down stars, was actually blocked? Omega rays, not bad. This is not the first time that the holy sword has been blocked. The previous Emperor Thanos even took a blow with his body. But after all, this is just Wang Hao's casual strike, no more difficult than ordinary people snapping their fingers. If he wanted, he could even directly flood this space with the holy sword. But that kind of effect is not as simple as triggering a supernova explosion. But even so, it is not easy to be able to resist Wang Hao's holy sword. But Darkseid, as the terrifying evil god of the multi-universe, naturally can not only block a sword like a snap of his fingers. After the Omega Ray defeated the holy sword, it continued to spread like a snake, advancing forward. Everything hit along the way turned into nothingness in an instant. Whether it's the extremely hard rock or the fighting demons and warriors. Nothing could stop Darkseid, and he felt no sympathy for their passing. Disappeared, it was only because it was too weak. And being weak is the biggest injustice in this world. Then try my trick again. The holy sword was defeated by Omega Rays. Although it is known that this is actually Darkseid's strongest attack, almost no one in the universe can stop it except Superman, who is sheltered by the origin. But Wang Hao naturally wouldn't think that Darkseid was stronger than him. Meteor gun. Advertisement. The holy spear transformed by a ray of light pierced the sky, and threw it at the position where Darkseid was with an unstoppable momentum and the belief that it must hit. This is Odin's ultimate move, and the meteor gun refers to his artifact Gingnir. According to legend, as long as you say the opponent's name before throwing the gun, this attack will surely hit. And because of its majestic momentum and its majestic power, it looks like a meteor streaking across the sky, so it is named the shooting star gun. And Odin's projection with all his strength is repeated in Wang Hao's hands at this moment, but the power is not weakened by half. Jing Shi. Before the holy spear shot hit, a new offensive came again. The flames all over the sky are white and hot. This is the flame that burns the sky, the real fire that purifies the world, and the sacredness that burns forever. Tens of millions of demons were instantly reduced to ashes in the flames. There is no way to extinguish it, no way to remove it. Unless all the evil in the world is burned away, otherwise, Li De Hao. This ray of flame will burn everything up. Cover the sky with one hand. The flames surround it, and the holy spear locks it. But absolute strength is Wang Hao's real killing move. Power. The sun is the most majestic force. Even if he is a human emperor who controls the life and death of all people, he has to look up to the scorching sun and submit to it. Supreme, supreme. Only the sun can be worthy of this word, and what he represents is absolute power, the power to crush everything is good. The white jade-like palm can even see the palm prints clearly, and slowly press down with this palm. Time is frozen, space is compressed, the universe is reduced to a point, and the galaxy is reduced to a drop. This trick is to cover the sky with one hand. Chapter 224. The Arrival of the New God. What does it mean to cover the sky with one hand? Before time travel, Wang Hao once watched a movie. Journey to the West Conquering Demons. After the Elder Tang in it awakened, he chanted the great Sun Tathagata Sutra, so the real body of the Buddha, which was bigger than the planet, manifested and suppressed it with a palm. That overwhelming power, that unstoppable divine power, even a monkey with great supernatural powers and defying the sky, couldn't resist it. Even if you were the unrivaled demon king, in front of Tinwei, you are nothing but the sand in the river, you can be destroyed instead. Although Darkseid's strength is thousands of times stronger than that of the monkey, the so-called indestructible body of King Kong may not be able to resist even a single Omega Ray. But Wang Hao's strength is more than 1,000 times stronger than that of the Tathagata? The Buddha Dharma image as big as a star is just another grain of sand in the river in front of Wang Hao. The power of this palm is even more so much better than the overwhelming power in the movie. Time is constrained, space is static, all things are turned into dust, and life returns to nothingness. Darkseid looked up at the sky, but couldn't see the sky, because this fleshy palm is the sky. He stared as hard as he could, and the Omega effect was exerted to the extreme, the attack 920 that was enough to wipe out the entire Ganges galaxy, but it couldn't break the overwhelming sky. He can't escape, he wants to resist, he wants to struggle. But when the hand that shrouds the sky is pressed down, billions of demon-like creatures dissipate instantly, like bubbles that have been punctured, and half of the apocalypse stars are shattered, just like those shattered soulfires. He lost to a hand, he lost to a man. The gray rock body evolved due to the Omega effect. It represents the ultimate in the world and the true color of death. But now, the burly and sturdy body is shattered, and blood flows out from the gap. Advertisement and his pair of eyes that can see all living beings in the universe have long been shattered, leaving only two dark holes. He just lay there quietly, on top of the wreckage of Apocalypse, on top of the war fortress that had accompanied him in battles for countless years and conquered countless galaxies. Still not enough, BICC, playing with the two red stone balls in his hand, Wang Hao shook his head. The so-called Omega effect is just an incomplete list of anti-life equations. Or a high imitation version. If it is an anti-life equation, maybe Darkseid can condense the supreme mighty power and become an existence of star rivers in motion. But he's clearly not at that level. After all, if that is the case, why does he have to fight in all directions? Civilization is destroyed in a wave of hands, what else is there to fight for? What the anti-monitor conquers is the universe, and what the apocalypse star conquers is the world and civilization. The difference is unreasonable. Snapped. The eyes that condensed all the energy and power of Darkseid, Omega reacted, shattered under Wang Hao's power. Afterwards, that rock-like gray body began to shrink slowly, recovered, and turned into a flesh and blood body. It has become a long-forgotten appearance. Why didn't you kill me? A hoarse voice emerged from his mouth. Failure is an unacceptable thing, even for Darkseid, or especially Darkseid. A cruel and ruthless person like him, a cosmic tyrant like him, finds it even harder to accept his own failure. He knows that he is not the strongest, and there are many existences stronger than him on the wall of origin. Those who are not stuck on the wall, the monitors and anti-monitors, and the Heavenly Father on the creation planet, are all people who are not inferior to him, or even better than him. Advertisement, but even so, he still never thought that someone would defeat him in such a way. Kill you? What's the benefit of killing you? You're my trophy, and it's still useful to hold you. Although Daxiad is not strong enough, he can become an indelible existence by ordinary means. Wang Hao does not intend to let go of this hurdle. Because his goal was not Darkseid from the beginning, but the entire Apocalypse Star. This massive war machine. Picking up Uncle Da's remnant body, Wang Hao walked into the sky step by step. And with his steps, a powerful force field surrounds the entire Apocalypse Star, condensing the surrounding debris and wreckage. The parts that were crushed by him reunited little by little. And when he came to the nothingness outside the Apocalypse Star, the entire Apocalypse Star had returned to its original state. Ugly, unbearable. As an Apocalypse Star that is crueler than purgatory, this planet is naturally not beautiful. The environment is harsh, riddled with holes. There is no green vegetation, no blue ocean, no birds and flowers. Rao. Gently chant the name in the mouth. Then, a figure came out from Wang Hao's body, and a man who was 90% similar to him stood in the void, with his arms outstretched, and the flames began to burn, and the light also began to sway. A sun that had never existed here shrouded the wretched planet in light. There is no gathering place here, don't be so bad. Vitality, goodness, hope, light. All the vocabulary began to emerge on the Apocalypse Star, and the flame of the world continued to burn, burning away the hostility that had condensed for thousands of years, and what rose from the ashes was a new life. Everyone, listen up, I am your new god, the Sun God. Chapter 225. The journey begins on the newborn star Apocalypse. A tower stands tall. The sun disk rotates slowly on the tower, and Wang Hao sits on the throne, looking down at the living beings below. Steppenwolf, Grail, and the few remaining high-level Apocalypse Stars gathered at his feet, leading those Apocalypse Star warriors who had not yet had time to surrender and worship. No one resisted, and no one was willing to speak up for Darkseid under Wang Hao's feet. This is the rule of Apocalypse, the strongest is king. If Darkseid is defeated, then they will make the more powerful Wang Hao their king. Most of the energy is flowing on Daxiad, exploring the secrets between him and the universe. Wang Hao just took away his Omega reaction and destroyed his body. He is still a member of the new Protoss, the son of Yuga Khan, the king of Apocalypse. If you give him a certain amount of time, he may not be able to make a comeback. Definitely, what he met was Wang Hao. He didn't have this chance. Wang Hao wouldn't give him this chance. Looking around with less than a tenth of his consciousness, Wang Hao looked at his newly acquired subordinates. Under the leadership of Zod, his celestial beings split aside, and Superman, Batman, Green Arrow and others got together and stood aside. On the other side, there are Tony, Thor and other strong people from foreign lands. Definitely, there are also the Templars led by Hans and his concubines. Time to play the game of world conquest. Looking at the countless talents in his grasp, Wang Hao said with a smile. He got the information he wanted. Message from Darkseid. Advertisement, relying on the void, or in other words, a contract. This is the key to why Darkseid can still have the ability to link the multi-universe in such a posture. Bind himself with the consciousness of the great universe. If the universe is a house, then Darkseid makes himself a pillar in this house. As a new Protoss, he does not have the kind of priesthood that a real god possesses. He does not represent any meaning in the universe. He is not a god of creation. Like the 5 gods next door, everyone is the embodiment of the rules of the universe. This is true for every member of the new Protoss, even the mighty Yuga Khan. Even, the only reason they are called gods is because they are powerful. But in this way, he bound himself to the universe and became an indispensable existence in the multi-universe. Most importantly, he also stole the authority that should belong to the gods. Immortal. What if I extend this goal to an infinite multi-universe? This way of entrusting the primordial spirit to the void allowed Daxiad to win the gold medal for avoiding death, and also made the great power who also belonged to the Deluo Jinxian sanctified. This seems to be a kind of restraint, but to them. They belong to Hongwang, and they also belong to DC. They can't be bound to the DC universe after being bound to the prehistoric way. But Wang Hao can. There are countless multi-universes, countless sun gods, countless me, and infinite multi-universes are owned by me, so am I invincible? Wang Hao suddenly thought of a similar description in a fairy tale novel he had read. Advertisement. In the fairy gourd, the primordial spirit goes up to the third level, pure yang, immortality, and good fortune. In order to obtain one of the 48 pure yang avenues, pure yang becomes a part of the law of the universe, while immortality can travel through the infinite universe through consciousness and obtain other worlds. The law of the great way, and when the 48 pure yang laws are collected, you can open up the universe by yourself and recreate the primordial world. It is for good fortune. After a comparison, although the statement and the description of the realm are different, coincidentally, the steps are similar. Asking for flowers. And Wang Hao is now in the immortal stage. If you want to kill him, you must wipe out all the sun gods in the 3 universes of Earth 1, Earth 2, and Earth X in the Marvel universe. It's not enough to have the Marvel universe, now there's the DC universe. But if Wang Hao uses this method of relying on the void to sign a contract with the universe, then it is not enough to destroy the Sun Shendu, unless it is to destroy the entire DC multi-universe. Then if he is bound in every universe, who can kill him? Oh, Uncle Da, you pointed out a clear path for me. If Wang Hao has really reached that level, how far is he from the existence of OAA? After thinking about this problem clearly, Wang Hao's long-lost fighting spirit was ignited. He has been invincible for so long that he has forgotten what struggle means, but now he has seen the way forward in the direction of progress. On the planet Apocalypse, boundless divine power pervades, transforming this place. Fortress of War, petri dish of super soldiers, training ground. In the square of the church, various buildings suddenly appeared, and various facilities spread out. At the same time, the full power of Haoshan's calculations reached its limit, the hyperspace quantum communicator was opened, and one multi-universe channel after another appeared on the Apocalypse star. Yuga Khan and other powerful gods have longed for a lifetime, and the world outside the wall of origin appears. Every sun god's civilization Xinyang will become the gateway for him to communicate with that world, and this belief is established by these people. Go and spread my light, go spread my glory, the infinite universe, the infinite world, because of the glory of the sun god. Chapter 226. Arrival in Juxia City. With the scorching sun for several days in a row, this Sha Tian also became more enthusiastic. Look at the long legs, the small waist, I really like Sha Tian. Standing on the balcony of the dormitory, watching the comings and goings on the school road, the young lady in cool clothes shouted loudly, a guy with a simple and honest face but who couldn't change the essence of hanging silk. His name is Zhe Xiaolun, an ordinary college student, the only thing that is unusual is that he feels like he has super abilities. Zhe Xiaolun's eyes lit up when he saw a bum who was obviously not well dressed chasing a snow-skinned long-legged lady and harassing her there. Then he cleared his throat and looked at the two entangled in front of him. Quiet. With a loud shout, what surged was some kind of strange anti-logic and anti-physical force. As for what is reflected outside, it is that bum who has been harassing others suddenly becomes speechless as if choked on saliva. Yeah, Zhe Xiaolun was very proud to see the beautiful woman out of trouble. But suddenly, the sky was brightly lit, as if someone turned on a 10,000-watt incandescent lamp in the dark night. And what's even more strange is that this is enough to blind a dog's eyes, but it doesn't make people feel dazzling. Damn it, Urguzi, come out to see the gods, one after another, voices resounded in Juxia City. Countless people looked up at the sky and fell into deep contemplation. Advertisement, are there gods in this world? Is this the super god universe? No, it should be the Shangbing Company. Super Seminary is a nonsensical fan work. To be precise, it should be included in the League of Legends universe. But Shangbing Company is different, the worldview is more complete, and a large number of fan elements are removed, such as the Smurf Rise teacher in the Super Seminary. Moreover, the confrontation between Morgana and Angel Civilization is no longer as simple as sisters who disagree with each other. Angel Civilization has real meaning and completes history. In other words, the greatest significance of the evolution of the Super Seminary into the Shangbing Company is to fill in the missing part of the Angel Civilization. Oh, it seems a bit too high profile. Before he knew it, countless eyes had gathered under his feet, and various cameras with long guns and short guns were also aimed at his position. A smile appeared on Wang Hao's face, and then disappeared directly in the same place. At the same time, in the depths of the starry sky, on the planet Liang, where civilization is at its peak. On the top of the highest mountain, a group of palaces stands there. Suddenly, the most luxurious and magnificent door of the main hall was pushed open, and a middle-aged man with a serious face and extraordinary momentum walked in. Lena. Looking at the beautiful and proud woman sitting on the seat, she didn't have the slightest majesty of the saintess of Liang Star. In particular, she was wearing a pair of black stockings under the luxurious and elegant outfit. It just doesn't make sense. Advertisement, oh, why are you here? Seeing her guardian appearing suddenly, The saint who was in a daze was bouncing off the chair that was as big as the bed, and instantly turned into a good girl and sat there. But this will only annoy Pan Zhen, the guardian of Liang Star, even more. Uncle, don't be angry, anyway, there is no one else in this hall who would know what I look like. Seeing that pretending to be cute is useless, Lena began to talk about her fallacies. Besides, she was the only one in this empty hall, so why did she have to put on such a dignified and elegant posture for anyone to see? HMPH, if it wasn't an emergency, I would definitely ground you and discipline you. However, I just got the oracle, and the sun god that we have followed for generations has returned. Although the passage of time in another universe is not so far away. But the time flow of the infinite multi-universe is inconsistent. In this universe, the Holy Legion of the Sun God sect and the duplication of Wang Hao came tens of thousands of years ago, completely changing the development track of this universe. But it may be due to the constraints of the timeline. Although there are various differences in small places, the final big trend is still familiar. And the most affected in this world is probably the Liang civilization. This civilization, which originally believed in the sun, seized the power from the fixed star. The creator of the civilization regarded himself as the sun god, and even made his descendants call themselves the goddess of dawn. But after the real sun god came, they 4.0 directly became the followers of the sun god. As the civilization progressed further, the so-called goddess of dawn also became the saint of the gods. The sun god, that is, the one we believe in? Hearing Pan Zhen's words, Lena was very surprised. Although she is a saint, it's because as a descendant of the god envoy, her bloodline is the most suitable. But in fact, she has always listened to it as a fairy tale. How could there be a galaxy that moves with a wave of hands? The sun god is on the earth. My god, Haoshan, has given me the oracle. Get ready and leave immediately. Chapter 227 Angels sent out. Serving the sun god is your duty and the meaning of your being a saint. HMPH, why should I serve others? With the sound of complaints, the beautiful figure disappeared into the starry sky. Countless light years away, in the depths of Mei Luotian court, the expressions of the two peerless beauties who were sitting in the garden suddenly changed at the same time. He's back? Are they back? Kesha looked at Hexie with surprise in her eyes. 30,000 years ago, the angel civilization was still at a very low level. At that time, the angel civilization was under the rule of the male angel, but at that time, a figure appeared, and a group of people appeared, which not only changed the development of civilization in the entire universe, but also changed their destiny. And the angel civilization also began the era of the three kings. I want to take people to Earth, then I'll stay. Hexie's beautiful eyes rested on Keisha 18's face, and said with a smile. Don't worry, I have waited for 30,000 years, and I don't care about waiting a few more days. Go to meet our king, but you should pay attention to Sugana, who may also hear the news and appear there. Demon King Morgana, the younger sister of the Holy Keisha, the former Angel King Apocalypse King Liang Bing, but because of his obsession with pursuing the departed Holy Legion, the Holy Sun God King, finally parted ways with the angel civilization and turned to the opposite. Seeing him, perhaps, she will change. In contrast, I am more worried about Karl. He defines the Holy King as the ultimate fear above the highest civilization. This time he will definitely come. The Holy Legion that suddenly appeared 30,000 years ago changed the history of the entire universe, established the Sun civilization, changed the Angel civilization, and established the supremacy of the King of the Gods. However, that incomparably powerful legion and that radiant figure suddenly disappeared, leaving only legends. With the passage of time and the development of science and technology, there are many people who study the origin of the Holy Legion and the significance of their appearance and disappearance. Advertisement for this reason, Kirin, the representative of the Kamigawa civilization, joined forces with the Angel civilization to establish the Super Seminary. However, Death God Karl, the mentor in the Super Theological Seminary, defined the God King as the ultimate fear, and believed that he was the black hand behind the restrictions on the development of civilization in the entire universe. It has been 13.7 billion years since the birth of the universe, but there has been no higher level civilization than them, which does not make sense anyway. Now, this God King suddenly appeared, and the brilliance of the sun will once again illuminate the entire universe. How could Karl just sit back and watch? The angels are all dispatched, and a certain demon queen far away in Kunsa will naturally not be silent. Haha, little ones, follow me and meet that heartless man. If you dare to make my old lady wait for 30,000 years, I will definitely tear him apart. All of a sudden, forces from all sides gathered and marched towards the earth. And the person who caused all this is still unaware that he just walked out of one of the most popular hot pot restaurants. Oh, it's a different world, but the taste of the food is the same as before. Hey, I forgot to tell those guys when I mentioned this. Although there are no myths in some worlds, you can still go there. For example, the spirit of a certain aphrodisiac, the captive of delicious food, and the little master. Although the desire for food and drink does not seem to exist in the gods, even he does not need to eat. But desire is a thing. What is the difference between mortals and gods? It's not that he cultivated too high and forgetting his feelings. Gods have desires like gods. Otherwise, what would the god of cookery and the god of beauty do? Boy, don't look, it's you. But Wang Hao didn't expect that something would happen to him as soon as he stepped out of the restaurant. Looking at the 5 people and 6 people at the corner of the street, Wang Hao couldn't help laughing out loud. Advertisement for many years, this was the first time he had encountered such a thing. Well, low-quality tattoos, tattooed by Mr. Tong, Mr. Tony's younger brother on the street, plastic gold chains, the kind that can float in water, the smell of smoke, no more than 5 yuan a pack. Alas, low end, true low end. Hey, I told you to come here, what are you looking at there? The sturdy tone, the high-spirited look, and the thick accent made Wang Hao feel a little astonished for a while, thinking that he was watching Tulong Hu Haogao's legendary life. What's the matter? What do you want me to do? Idle is also idle. Wang Hao encountered this kind of thing for the first time, so he planned to chat with a few guys at 810. Well, you look like a dog, and you seem to be doing well. So what, my brothers have been a little tight recently, and I want to borrow some money from you to spend. Don't worry, our IOUs are definitely not borrowing money. The one who pays back. The man in the lead had a fleshy face, and he looked rather wicked, the type who could scare a child to tears without saying a word. Oh, do I know you guys? People who ask me to borrow money are usually tens of millions or hundreds of millions. You don't seem to come here with a contract. The corners of Wang Hao's mouth rose slightly, continuing to tease these little rascals. Tens of millions. Sure enough, after listening to Wang Hao's words, those gangsters were shocked. They originally planned to get a few hundred yuan for cigarette money. It would be troublesome for the police to file a case with this little money. Even if they were caught and arrested, they would only be detained for 15 days at most. And this is nothing more than routine for them, but I didn't expect to meet a big fish this time. Brother, why don't you get him a big ticket? Tie him up? Chapter 228I, Nuoxing God of War, don't want to lose face. As a little punk wandering the streets, not to mention tens of millions, even tens of thousands of dollars have never been in my hands. These tens of millions are divided into several points, so they don't have to worry about it for the rest of their lives. As the saying goes, wealth are sought in danger, and the bold starve to death the timid. When he thinks of the bright red banknotes, Urguzi's heart heats up. Snapped. However, Urguzi did not expect that what greeted him was not the boss's praise, but a slap in the face. Get out, am I Lu Chuang the kind of person? Petty theft is fine, kidnapping and robbery, are you worthy of the cultivation of the country and the teaching of your family? The hooligan leader began to teach the younger brother the core values. This funny scene made Wang Hao couldn't help laughing out loud. It's okay, with a conscience, a punk also has professional ethics, right? Wang Hao teased several people, but Lu Chuang, the name flashed in his mind for a moment. Then, looking at the leading brother who was still educating his younger brother, Wang Hao suddenly stretched out his hand. Wait, let's talk about education later. With his arm grasping Lu Chuang's shoulder, the divine power of invisible seeped into his body, and the majestic vitality and the secret hidden in the depths of the cells were revealed bit by bit. Yo, it's really true, Nuoxing God of War. These changes did not appear to the outside world. Lu Chuang, who was grabbed by Wang Hao's shoulders, felt that his body was suddenly frozen and unable to move. Hey, what kind of demon technique is this? Is it acupuncture? You are a master of martial arts. Hey, brother, let go. I was wrong big brother. Lu Chuang's yelling brought Wang Hao back to his senses, looking at the unawakened Nuoxing God of War, the future Great Wall #1. Wang Hao shook his head slightly. Advertisement the potential is good. After all, they are the so-called 3-generation super fighters, and they are the product of the God-making plan at the same level as the power of the galaxy and the light of the sun. If it reaches its peak, it will be as strong as Thor. This refers to the quasi-god King Thor, the Thor who has mastered the thunder power in his body and owns the Stormbreaker. The God-making plan really succeeded for them. However, Wang Hao grabbed his shoulder and didn't speak for a while, just staring at the way he looked at him, which made Lu Chuang's heart skip a beat. Brother, you can't be that or something, right? No, brother, I'm not good looking, and I'm a bit ugly, and I don't like men either. Seeing Wang Hao looking at him again, Lu Chuang said quickly. I don't discriminate against you guys. I definitely don't discriminate against people of the same S*X. It's everyone's own choice. No one looks down on anyone, but brother, I really am not. Before Lu Chuang finished speaking, Wang Hao suddenly raised his hand. Snapped. What's wrong? A genetic system. Why is it said to be triggered when it is near death? Immortals can't be superheroes. Which B*********** D designed this kind of program. Lu Chuang, who was lying on the ground, had a broken heart. Judging by human standards, he was already utterly dead. But in Wang Hao's eyes, the energy in the void is connected, the power in the bottom layer of the gene is awakened, and the changes that are more exaggerated than the mutant X gene awakening are going on. Nuo Star God of War, the guy who smashed a planet with an axe and destroyed the Denuo galaxy. It's interesting. Although the first person he came into contact with was not the lovely girl Qilin, nor the hot and cold Changwei, but Wang Hao's interest was aroused. The world has undergone many changes due to his appearance, but overall, it still retains a certain degree of similarity with the Shangbing company he knew. Big brother, advertisement. As soon as he stepped out, the hard pavement tiles were crushed directly, leaving a big deep pit. With a light slap, Lu Chuang flew upside down and hit the lamppost by the roadside. Wang Hao flicked out a ripple, and strong life force poured into Lu Chuang's body, further activating his genes and further strengthening his body. Face is more important than anything else to a person who is a mess, and such behavior is undoubtedly the biggest challenge to his face. Well, it's not enough, let me add some fire wheat for you. But what he didn't notice was that the speed at which he erupted at the moment was simply terrifying. Lie down a little longer. On the other side, Lu Chuang, who was slapped to death, got up from the ground in less than half a minute. Amid the shouts of his younger brothers, Lu Chuang shook his head and roared angrily. Lu Chuang roared angrily and charged towards Wang Hao like a wild bull. The so-called flying man bolt was like a snail in front of him, with a distance of 5 meters. He arrived in just one step, punched out, and even the wind did not appear, and he was already in front of Wang Hao. But Lu Chuang didn't care about these things at all. His brain was congested or flooded, and he only wanted to fight Wang Hao at this moment. He kicked Lu Chuang into the air with one kick, drawing a deep trench on the road, and his flesh and blood body was still unharmed. Although he doesn't know any skills, strength is everything. God of God, what kind of glory, I want to kill that kid right now. The steel lamp post was smashed by his body, and it made a toothache, Li Hao, sound and slowly bent and fell down. Being slapped and slapped away, Lu Chuang's mind full of so-called loyalty in the world felt like the sky was falling. It seems that endless power gushes out from the body of this Nuoxing god of war. Chapter 229. Rosa du Rose. Woo. Woo. The piercing siren sounded on the street, and the eye-catching police car rushed against the crowd and rushed towards the scene of the incident. And louder than the siren is the rumbling, thunderous collision. The real-life Superman class, or god of war, turned this street into a disaster scene comparable to a meteor crater. That Lu Chuang is the person we have been paying attention to all the time. Why is he suddenly awakening? And this level of combat power is clearly awakening to a very high level. A tall young man with a calm face stepped out of the car, and a beautiful woman with a proud figure and a stern face appeared with him. Nuoxing God of War is one of the 3 major god-making projects of the Super Seminary. Looking at the situation like this, it may be difficult for us to control it. After the Dino galaxy was destroyed 10,000 years ago, the remnants came to the Earth, and even they themselves had a sense of identity, connecting themselves with this planet and this country. However, with the passage of time, the power of the remnants of the current Dino galaxy is far from that of the center of the Kamigawa civilization 2.57 million years ago. What's more, Nuoxing God of War is the highest force they have. Even if they are not equipped with dark alloy armor and magic axe, it is difficult to defeat him. Changwei, at this point, we can only take one step at a time. Let's try to communicate first. This extraordinary level of battle is not something ordinary people can participate in. Although the surrounding roads have long been closed and dozens of police cars have surrounded the place, they can only watch from there. Boom. Just when they were hesitating, a sound like the sound of a cannon appeared, and then a figure slammed heavily in front of them. Oh, brother, please let me go. I was wrong. I shouldn't challenge you. Let me go, brother. Advertisement in the deep pit was a middle-aged man with ragged clothes and worse than a tramp. But at this moment, his image doesn't look like a god of war. Even Urguzi on the street is more heroic than him. Aji and Changwei looked at each other, and then looked at Lu Chuang, who was begging for mercy, with a hint of shock in their eyes. The previous battle was too fierce, and they didn't get the information on the scene. They thought that some powerful existence had stimulated the potential in Lu Chuang's body, and then they were beaten violently by him. Looking at it now, it turned out that Lu Chuang was beaten by him. Before they could figure out what was going on, a young man with a calm face and clean clothes, that didn't look like he was fighting at all, slowly flew down from the air. Yo, there are 2 more. Looking at Aji and Changwei in front of him, Wang Hao could clearly feel the great power on them. This kind of power is far beyond that of ordinary people. Just looking at physical strength, it is even comparable to the normal Hulk. Especially the long-legged young lady with a stern face, the power of time and space surging in her body clearly showed her identity. Spacetime rose. Tisk, this is actually the mutant bloodline I brought. He ignored Lu Chuang, god of war who was awakening to his strongest state during his violent beating. Although if Wang Hao is not counted, it is not a problem for Lu Chuang to single out a gluttonous fleet and smash a main ship with a single axe. Apart from Keisha and Morgana, he is basically invincible, but in Wang Hao's eyes, Biba, he is still just a little hooligan who doesn't make a difference. Passing over the little rascal, Wang Hao reached out to Changwei's ear and stroked a strand of her hair, making her cheeks flush, and at the same time, he also learned all kinds of genetic data. Advertisement. So much X-gene data. This is the super soldier database I left behind. The Holy Legion enters every world, and after the sun god belief is established in that world, Wang Hao's consciousness can come directly. The current composition of the Holy Legion has changed from pure believers before to absorbing mutant supergenetic warriors, celestial Terran warriors and apocalypse star warriors. From the point of genetic modification, no matter in any universe, the technique has reached the top level. As for Lu Chuang, that's all. The time and space genes on Changwei obviously came from the database of his Holy Legion. It appears their connection runs deeper than I thought. Wang Hao could feel his own duplication in this world. On Liang Star, a copy of Haoshan controls everything there. If the original leader of this world was the angel civilization, and the big boss was Death God Karl, then now, Liangxing is undoubtedly the final boss. It's just that according to Haoshan's meaning, Liang Star did not wantonly expand its power, but only quietly manage the Liang civilization, and did not interfere too much with the progress of this world's civilization. However, the Super Seminary was able to obtain this key genetic data from Liang civilization, and his appearance 30,000 years ago had a profound impact on this world. You, what are you doing? Due to Wang Hao's sudden intimacy, Changwei's original coldness suddenly disappeared, and the blush and shyness on her face did not match her previous character at all. So much so that Aji next to him was stunned. Is this still the iceberg beauty Du Changwei? But he didn't know that Wang Hao's attraction to women was unreasonable. The most notable point is that when he appeared in this world, many of the partners of angels calculated in Keisha's knowledge treasure house suddenly changed their goals, from the original object to Wang Hao. Chapter 230 I am your man, you have to treat me well. Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? Oh, you just ate? Do you want me to buy you a cup of milk tea? In a special institution, Wang Hao and Lu Chuang came here under the leadership of a Ji and Chang Wei. Lu Chuang was taken elsewhere for inspection and questioning, while Wang Hao followed Chang Wei to the command center. It's just that the cold and proud Du Chang Wei suddenly turned into a little girl who just fell in love. Not only a Ji was shocked, even her father Du Kao was shocked. He is familiar with his daughter's temper, and because of this, Chang Wei's performance made him even more unbelievable. What's the origin of this guy? Looking at Wang Hao who was joking with Chang Wei there, Du Kao, who saw him for the first time, asked a Ji. Report to the general, this is the one who fought with Lu Chuang in the street just now, God, he calls himself the Sun God. Although he inquired, a Ji didn't get any more information. For some reason, when facing Wang Hao, his aura as a civil servant and his oppressive force as a special elite instructor could not be reflected at all. Instead, Wang Hao smiled at him, and he actually developed a feeling of admiration and worship towards Wang Hao. The Sun God, there is only one Sun God in the universe, and that is also the belief of the Liang civilization, but as far as I know, that great existence left this universe long ago and went to unknown world. The Dino Galaxy used to be the center of the Kamigawa civilization, and Du Kao was a high-level general at that time, and he had heard about these things. The god from 30,000 years ago? If he is the real one, it makes sense. According to the information we have obtained, Lu Chuang, the Nuoxing god of war who was awakened in advance, is still under the control of him even when his strength is at full strength. I'm afraid, only that kind of existence has such strength. Really, if it is true that you have the power to completely suppress Lu Chuang as you said, then I am afraid that you will not be wrong. Moreover, I heard that wherever the sun god goes, all women will be fascinated by him and attracted by him. Advertisement Du Kao looked at his daughter and became more certain of this idea in his heart. It seems that we need to contact Lai Yangxing. However, Wang Hao, who was talking to Chang Wei, suddenly looked into the sky, and then glanced at Du Kao. There's no need to contact her, she's already here. With a flick of the fingers, in Chang Wei's perception, a majestic and boundless force of time and space distorted the surrounding space, and then a beautiful blonde with big waves was dragged out of thin air. What? The Holy Maiden of Dawn, who was shuttling through the space channel, yelled and fell headlong into Wang Hao's arms. When she raised her head and looked around in panic, she realized that she had landed on the ground. Hey, you have so much divine power, besides, you're so handsome. In an instant, Reina saw the man in front of her, who was hugging her. And when she felt that Wang Hao had the same source as her, no, it was the source of power in her body, she was also attracted by Wang Hao's unique charm. After all, in that world, it's only been a few years since Lu Ji Anna and others became gods. It's like the sun, so my saintess doesn't need to be assessed? Your saint? You. Are you the sun god? They even think that the sun god believed by the Liang civilization is just a virtual god they made up, just like other civilizations that are still in the age of ignorance. Advertisement after 30,000 years of development, as the spokesperson of Wang Hao's sun god cult in the world, the person closest to the sun, Lena's divine power is no less than that of Loki and Anna, who were made gods by Wang Hao. The originally clear eyes suddenly became blurred, and the breathing gradually became heavy. Lena didn't finish her sentence, but Wang Hao pushed her away and got closer. What Wang Hao said before that Lu Chuang might be invincible on Earth will be retracted, with the strength in Lena's body, let alone Lu Chuang, even if all the strong men in this universe come together, they cannot be her opponent. She would lose her memory every time she was reincarnated. In this life, she was still very young, so her character was a little confused, so that she didn't believe that Wang Hao really existed. The extremely dense sun power all over his body is his saint. Yes, Lena, who originally could only release nuclear fusion and throw 1 or 2 solar flares, is the person who has been changed the most by his arrival, and her strength is even more terrifying. But Lena is a saint who has been passed down from generation to generation. Because a mortal body cannot live forever, she will be reincarnated every 1,000 years, but that huge divine power has been accumulated. Lena's eyes widened suddenly, looking at Wang Hao's face. The shock on her face was even more exaggerated than that of Du Kao and others. But forget it, since you are my sun god, then I am yours. Remember, you have to treat me well. Ask for flowers. Looking at the typical big but brainless Lena, Wang Hao couldn't help but tease. Reina, who had recovered from her shock, put her arms around Wang Hao's neck again, then stared at his face, and said forcefully, "You, who are you? Why do you give me a feeling of wanting to be close, like?"